2x2, the Cup Series in Michigan. For the first time, one stop here at Michigan International Speedway on the 2024 schedule. And the fans all on their feet. And this is what they've been waiting for. Green flag is out. Racing in Michigan. Down the backstretch into a headwind as they go into turn 3. Big run there by Kyle Larson. Can he take the lead in 3? Slides up the racetrack and takes it away from Reddick.
What an aggressive move. He caught those two guys side by side, used the draft on the left and went right by them.
Denny Hamlin working to the inside now of that 45, trying to get second away. Little side drafting doesn't work out for Hamlin, but here comes Chase Elliott as Elliott will try to take third away from Hamlin.
You see just how big the draft plays in overall straightaway speed. The 5 had a huge run the lap before. This time it was the 9. Now it's the 9 loses momentum off corner exit. Can the 20 pull up to the back of the 9 car? Here's the 11 looking low on the 45.
Denny Hamlin completes the pass. He's up to second. We've seen this before. Larson Hamlin 1 and 2 at a racetrack.
They've lived 2024 within about a position of one another and normally near the front.
Saw Ryan Blaney peek out just for a moment as we see 3 wide back here for position. Michigan-born Brad Keselowski, one of those drivers that would love to get a win in his home state. Big move there by Alex Bowman in the 48.
See Alex Bowman right on that yellow line. Got to have a lot of confidence in your car to go down there. A little bit less banking on the racetrack, which means a little less grip.
You also need to find a hole when you get to the straightaway. He couldn't clear himself up in front of the 14, and for that reason, the 14 now out to the right side of the 48. You see the back of the car is dancing around a little bit.
Watch Truex right here. He got tight right behind him. Now they're side by side in front of him. Look at this draft he has. Now he goes up and hits the back, trying to move forward the car in front of him.
Chase Briscoe probably, is he thankful that he gets shoved into the turn like that, or is he a little bit leery?
Well,
in that push?
Yeah, watch what Truex does. When these cars are side by side, it creates a big draft. Truex will make contact, push him down the back straightaway, but he'll separate on corner entry. He's not going to push him into the corner. He's just going to try to get him there quicker.
Look at how fast Martin Truex Jr. is in the center of the turn.
He did. He got back to the throttle, even just part throttle, and accelerated through, cleared the 48, and chases the 14 down the straightaway, Dave.
Already picked up 6 positions from his starting position. When I talked to crew chief James Small this morning, he said, I think we have one of the better cars today. Remember, they almost won this race last year, and confidence with this driver can go a long way. The 19's moving forward.
You know, we're not supposed to have favorites, but knowing it's his last full-time year, I don't care what track, but I would love to see Martin Truex Jr. get that send-off win. Maybe more than one, but at least one. He's earned it. He's been such a great champion in the sport, such a great career. I think the fans, his fans and himself, it'd be great to see him win one more time.
Martin's given us a great perspective with that Toyota onboard camera as well as he goes by the 48.
Yeah, once again, Alex Bowman, he can make the bottom of the racetrack work well. Now Cindric underneath him. The problem with the bottom is right here. You know, you've got that momentum that you build up on the outside. You really need something like that to happen. Alex Bowman had problems with his car on corner exit. Allowed the 2 to make a little bit of gain on him. Austin Cindric drives in the corner deeper. Alex Bowman able to stay right there with him.
Field back in front of the grandstands. You see Kyle Larson, as he was getting into turn one, he was at 200 miles an hour. Still side by side for position here as Bowman in that Ally 48 on the outside of Austin Cindric in the 2. Marty.
Meanwhile, up front, should we be surprised? The top 4 in the regular season points with 3 races left in the regular season are 1 through 4 right now. So we talked about the radio issues for Tyler Reddick and Billy Scott and their race team. They cleared up so far. Listen in.
I can really hear you. You're breaking up really bad. I mean, I have you back. You're just really, really staticky. Any better?
So that was spotter Nick Payne talking to Billy Scott here on the pit box. Steve, the surprising thing to me is that it's on the pit box side. That's where the issue is, but they can't seem to get it solved here for the 45 team.
Yeah, frustrating. It's one thing on the car. You know, it's hard to kind of diagnose the issue and repair it while the car is obviously underway, but the pit box you would think you'd be able to figure out relatively quickly.
The gap between first and second, about 0.4 of a second between Larson and Hamlin. Then back from Hamlin is Reddick, and he's about 0.5 second back from Hamlin. Elliott and Bell top 5. Let's take a look back at how Larson got up front. What a surge he had.
Yeah, once again, there's 2 cars in front. When they are side by side, Steve, it just creates a huge void in the air because there's just all that wake is going over top of your car, and you just pick up this big draft. Anytime you see that, you see opportunity.
Now Denny Hamlin's trying to use that draft to run down the 5 of Kyle Larson. Right in line on the straightaway. Now down in the corner, you see maybe a quarter car lower, just a few feet lower, trying to get that air underneath that front splitter, speeds across the floor pan and across the rear diffuser, kind of sucking, vacuuming the air to the car to the racetrack like an upside down airplane wing. The same thing that makes an airplane fly is what's keeping this car on the racetrack.
Pushing it down.
Yeah, watch his Hamlin speed. So if Larson sees 200 at the end of the front stretch, Hamlin should be 202, 203 with this toe.
Across the start finish line at 195. 202 for Denny Hamlin entering turn number 1. Dave, how about the 4? Seems to be lagging in the back.
When I talked to Roddy Childers this morning about the race today, he said, I talked to my wife this morning and I didn't know whether to tell her to pray for a loose race car or a tight race car because I'm not sure which way it's going to go. Well, guess what? Super, super loose. Josh Berry can barely hang on to it. He's fallen back to last place.
Yeah, this is one of those racetracks. This racetrack, Steve, Dover, there's a few of them that when you're loose, you just can't compete. When you're way too loose, there's some tracks you can get by with it. You can just kind of just make speed, make it happen. But here it's so fast. Dover is so fast. When you're loose, you just cannot do anything like you need to be able to do to make lap time.
The 4 lost 20 positions all the way to the back, but it's Kyle Larson who has surged to the front. You're watching the NASCAR Cup Series from Michigan, Golden Corral. Gap staying about the same between the top two, Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin. About 0.2 of a second. We'll see if Hamlin can find some clean air, possibly put a run on this 5 as he closes the gap there to about a car length and a half. But then Larson pulls back away as they come off of turn 2.
Denny doing a nice job of just being patient. He hasn't really missed the bottom. That half a lane lower, he's able to run in the corner is really what keeps him close enough to get this advantage down the straightaway. Dave?
Steve, you always want to see what drivers are going toward the front, so let's take a look at the Ashley Furniture on the move, and that is the 16 of A.J. Allmendinger, up 11 positions from where he started. When I talked to the crew, he only got 11 laps of practice yesterday, but they were good laps because they started in one direction, went too far back, and came back to the middle for his setup today. So far, it's been very drivable, and it's gotten him 11 spots better, Marty.
Chris Buescher also in that category, Dave. He has +8 since the start of the race, up from 18th to 10th for Buescher. Talking to him earlier this week, he said, listen, we have given up way too many stage points, especially in stage 1. This is a critical pass for Buescher as well. He's going to pass Ross Chastain, who currently he is tied with right at the cut line for the playoffs this year. So a big pass there for Chris Buescher, and Parker in a position now to get stage points here in stage 1.
Right, Marty. I had an interesting conversation with Chase Elliott, who currently runs in 5th, earlier today about this racetrack, and he said, you know, all the money is made on the entry of the corners, meaning carrying as much entry speed as you can, but he's having a little issue inside that 9 car, preventing him from carrying as much speed as he wants. Take a listen to the radio.
Really happy in 1 and 2. The 2 for 8, 3, 4. I can't get the back locked down without giving up a bunch of pace. 20 and some other guys are coming a little bit more of the throttle down there. I don't know if that'll help.
And there you heard from Alan Gustin, maybe use a little less throttle, not try to carry as much speed as he was on the entry, but that's the trade-off with these race cars at this racetrack. 200-mile-per-hour entry speeds, 185 in the center, and trying to balance that speed and carry as much as you can is a tricky thing to do.
Gap staying about the same between the top 2 here, Larson and Hamlin. Still right around that 0.2 of a second gap.
And the top 4 all within a second. 2311 cars running 3rd and 4th. Testing our vision, Rick, both with the McDonald's paint scheme, kind of inverted. One's red and white, one's red and black.
These cars obviously very equal, so Denny Hamlin now is just trying to figure out where the little bit of speed is that he needs to be able to gain on Larson. You can see a little bit different line this time. Denny going right up against that dark gray section. Let's see if that builds some momentum down this front straightaway. It looks like it is. It's not going to be enough to make a pass, Steve, but you're trying to gain a half a car length a lap. You're not going to just all of a sudden go by here and pass the 5 car. You got to work him, gain a little bit, this time to the bottom of the racetrack. Riding along with Martin Truex, trying to get on the outside of Brad Keselowski. Brad wasn't letting him have it.
There's Josh Berry with a lot of debris on the front grille there. And he has been having troubles. Maybe the debris will give him a little more downforce as these two now still right at that about 0.2 of a second mark between the 2 of them.
Yeah, Denny had closed it down, but then, you know, not able to make anything work down there in 1 and 2. We'll see if he looks back to the higher line relative to the 5 car and 3 and 4. He does. He climbs the hill. I like this line better at this end of the racetrack. I think it pays dividends down the front stretch. Something about 1 and 2, though, is not allowing Denny the confidence or at least the choice to not run higher, as now Larson's going to pick up the draft of that struggling Josh Berry car out front.
We'll see if that helps. These two, and Steve, you referenced it, it seems like they're next to each other all the time. As a matter of fact, they have raced this year within a position for 1,000 laps. 1,000 laps in 2024 that they have been within a position of each other, as now it gets even tighter as they're working around the lap traffic.
That lap car kind of changed the angle of entry for Kyle Larson. Looked like it hurt him through the middle of the corner. Denny did a nice job of capitalizing. We'll see if he's close enough to make a move down here in one.
Go high, Larson goes up. Still about a car length on corner entry.
As this race goes on, I'm interested to see if Hamlin could enter the corner higher, right? Build confidence that he would have enough grip to enter the corner higher. Right now, I don't think he really trusts it. A lot of confidence on corner exit, but not on corner entry on that high line.
We talked a lot about Kyle Larson and his abilities behind the wheel. Kyle Larson received very high praise. As are we going to see the 11 work to the bottom and try to take that spot away? During the Olympic break, we talked a lot about Olympians. Well, Dan Jansen has worked with Kyle Larson on his fitness program, and he has high praise for Larson. Talks about his strength versus body weight, might be one of the best he's ever worked with. And so not only is he talented behind the wheel and can think quickly, but he also has his body in a position where he can make the moves that he thinks the car needs to make.
Yeah, that's one thing. Denny Hamlin, he's dedicated to his fitness also. Works really hard at it. It's become so important in this sport. These are long races, and how they train is different than other athletes as well. They sit in these race cars for up to 4.5 hours, 140 degrees. It's a different type of fitness that you need. Every sport has its own unique type of training. This has gotten very specialized.
Let's take a look at the Xfinity fastest lap, and it came on lap 4 with Kyle Larson having average speed around this 2-mile track at 190.179 miles per hour.
Hamlin was this close a couple laps ago, went to the bottom of 3 and 4. I thought it hurt him. We'll see if he makes another climb up the banking, try to run that top. No, kind of right in the tire tracks to the bottom. His car turned so good in the first third of the corner. Behind them, the 23 and the 45 now side by side. You could see Bubba Wallace getting past Tyler Reddick. Think about a win for Bubba Wallace, what that would do to the playoff standings. Currently above with points, but once you lock him in, that kind of takes away that spot, that opportunity.
Bubba's gained 54 points on the cut line in the last 4 races. He's getting hot at the right time. Kyle Larson still up front here at Michigan. Download the official app of NASCAR. Make sure you follow the action with free live scoring. There's in-car cameras as well as radio broadcast. Search NASCAR in your app store to download and start a free trial. Side by side for the lead. Hamlin, and look at the run as those two went side by side. The run of Bubba Wallace blew by them both, and Bubba Wallace has taken the lead here at Michigan.
Very similar to how the 5 of Kyle Larson got the lead on that first lap. In attendance, the man himself, Michael Jordan. He's got to like that. The 23 car takes the lead, smile on the face.
Big smile there as Hamlin now has gotten by the 5 of Larson. Take another look how this happened.
Well, see, again, they're side by side making tons of wake behind them, is just clears the hole, and then Bubba Wallace just sees it. Opportunity just goes right by both of them. Anytime you see two cars leave the corner at Michigan side by side, you have to know there's an opportunity for me to go get both of them.
And now Kyle Larson is under attack from Reddick. Reddick ran a really low line in 1 and 2. Larson went down to really block. Reddick's trying to find a way. The Toyotas, as the tires age, cycling to the front.
Under 10 laps to go in stage 1. The stages are 45 laps, 75 laps, and 80 laps for today's race. And now the 11 is caught back up to the 23. Let's see if Denny can get by the 23. Wasn't able to get by the 5 originally when he was trying to get by for the lead.
Kyle Larson wants to hang out because it's going to be the same thing. If Denny can work side by side with the 23 and it takes a lap or more, the 5 is going to have a lot of opportunity. Now the 11 is going to try that top lane again. I like what it looks like. I just assume it would have more run down the straightaway, but it just doesn't seem to materialize.
Now he's close enough. We'll see if he takes the lower line through 1 and 2. He starts now, and what's that going to do for the 5? Bubba trying to break the wake. We're going to talk a lot about drafting and the draft here in Michigan. It's closed the gap now with the 5. He was able to gain some racetrack position as the 11 and the 23 continue to fight for the lead, and the 11 goes around. The 11 slid into the wall and then into the grass he goes. Caution comes out.
That's the other side of that wake we've been talking about, Steve. As he got close to him, he lost the downforce and around he went. Brooks straight down the straightaway. Brooks will get you in the corners. Here he is. Watch Denny. Got good forward momentum, making a big gain, wide open in the gas, slides up behind, and as soon as he does, he loses downforce and around it goes.
Didn't look like he actually tagged the wall. He tried to keep it off of it.
Right there, he's in trouble. Saw the fire come out of the exhaust pipe? That's him lifting off of the throttle.
Yeah, when you get right behind that 23 but still have wheel in it, the air shuts off to the diffuser underneath the back of the car. Instant aero shift. Downforce comes off the back, sometimes even adds to the front, makes the car turn. Around he went. We'll have to see what kind of damage. You know, the grass is obviously wet from the rain. Looked like it took a couple bounces. You know, the old car with the splitter, it would dig in. This one obviously doesn't dig in. I'm kind of looking at the body seams and panels. Does a nice job. Right here is the big bounce. Left front.
And remember Joey Logano, when we were talking to him in the pre-race or during the rain delay, he said this car, everything feels great, and when it gets loose quickly. It goes around quick, and that's what you just saw right there. Denny thought he was fine until he wasn't, but the car didn't talk to him. It didn't say, I'm getting loose. It immediately got loose. It didn't build loose. It just happened to him quickly.
And now we've seen this. What did Cliff Daniels say? There's normally a stage 1 yellow. Here it is with 6 to go. I imagine we're going to see pit road open and probably restart with a couple laps to go. This is a real tough decision for these drivers. Bubba Wallace in this points battle for the playoffs probably has to stay out for points in this stage. But if I'm Larson and Reddick, I'm probably coming to pit road. I think the call to be in position to win the race. I know that's a long time from here, 160 laps away, but the call is to pit now. Take your tires and fuel, but you will absolutely give up the opportunity for stage points if you do that.
Chastain and Busch are in that same situation. They're all battling for that playoff spot. Let's see what everybody does.
Buescher's running 8th right now. Chastain is 9th. Who stays out, who comes? Well, Bubba Wallace comes to pit road. Parker.
Right, I'm surprised by his decision. Maybe take the stage points considering where they are in the playoff bubble, but they look like they maybe have a car that can win this race, and that means pitting right here as he goes down into his box. They asked him what he needed. He said, I need to be snugged up at the beginning of the run. I'm about a 3 loose on the entry of the corners. If we snug me up, I can go better, Marty.
Tyler Reddick said, I'm 2 free on entry, and I'm on the verge of being 2 free on exit towards the end of that run. Meanwhile, Kyle Larson said, I just lost grip during that run while everybody else did not. An interesting call by Scott Graves. He left Chris Buescher out on the racetrack. Right now sitting in 3rd, so it could be some very critical stage points here in stage 1 for that 17 who's near the cut line, Rick.
And with only 6 cars staying out, Rick, I think guys off from pit road could still score points. We'll just have to see.
It'll be a sprint to the finish of stage 1 in the FireKeepers Casino 400 from Michigan. Just over a handful of cars stayed out on the racetrack of this most recent caution, and we're seeing Blaney and Byron. They will be restarting up front, and the reason for them staying out, are they looking for that playoff point?
I really think that's what it is, Rick. I know there's a bunch of points battles, making the playoffs, regular season points, a lot of different things, but the guarantee is win the stage and it's a playoff point. We have seen cars not advance out of rounds in the playoffs by 1 point. So every playoff point you can accumulate makes that path easier.
A 3-lap shootout right here, Rick. You've got to get everything to make this strategy work. You have to finish in the top 10 here or win this stage.
The sprint to the finish as they're back in the restart zone. Green flags back in the air. Blaney with a great restart, and it's already 3 wide behind them. Buescher with a shove on Blaney as the 2 Fords working together there. 4 wide as they exit turn 2. Fight for second now between Buescher and Byron.
These points can be huge for Buescher right here.
Coming up on 2 to go in the stage.
Yeah, about the 6th, 7th car in line. That's the 8 of Kyle Busch. We haven't said his name, but he came off pit road He's going to be like the third car on newer tires. A good cycle for the 8 car. He's now 3 wide top, as we see the 17 of the 24 battling and the 12 of Blaney trying to just get gone for these last 3 miles.
Bubba Wallace also made that pit stop work for him. He's on the bottom of the racetrack on that upper screen as he's running in the 5th position. Byron under attack now as Elliott has gotten by. And one more lap to go in stage 1.
And look at this chaos back in the middle of the pack. 3 wide. Look at Truex on the outside. Made a big lunge at Bowman.
He's got Tyler Reddick behind him. And those two working together, it looked like they were going to make some big improvements, but Bowman had to check up. As Blaney will come out of turn 4, and a comfortable lead over Chase Elliott will give him the stage win. 3rd stage win already of 2024 for Blaney, and Bowman goes all the way down to the apron.
So did Bowman get that spot? It was really close at scoring that he didn't, but that mattered to Chastain because Chastain finished 9th there. That's a point.
Stage 1 is complete, and you're watching the NASCAR Cup Series from Michigan, presented by Golden Corral. Ryan Blaney, the defending champion of the Cup Series, wins stage 1 here in Michigan. NBC Sports coverage of NASCAR on USA is brought to you by Golden Corral. Endless wings and baby back ribs are on now at Golden Corral. The only one for everyone. Toyota, let's go places. Progressive Insurance. Save when you bundle auto, home, or motorcycle insurance. Visit progressive.com. And by Credit One Bank. NASCAR, American Express card. Take a look at the points earned in stage 1. Very important for Buescher. Got 6. Bowman 2, Chastain 1.
That was a real fascinating kind of sprint there. Jeff, you and I were having the conversation. You know, I know Old Tires won it with Blaney, but Elliott, the lap coming to the line, was much faster. So with 40 laps on the tires, it does seem like while you can hold on for a lap or two, the newer tires just carried more speed. More grip was obvious, the confidence they had through the middle of the corner.
Yeah, that's not always been the case recently at this racetrack. So everybody that did not pit then, they had to come down now.
Dave.
William Byron's car had a tight balance to 24. We'll get an adjustment for that. He stayed out on that run. The 12 of Ryan Blaney, he won that stage. His car was a little bit loose. He's going to get a smaller adjustment now that he's getting back in traffic. But he said, good call. I should be able to work my way forward. Marty?
Wasn't quite what Scott Graves and Chris Buescher drew up, but they got 6 critical stage points by staying out there. Buescher said, I'm a little bit free, but I feel really good about our long run speed. Don't make any changes. So of those who pitted, they're going to have to wait on fuel here, but Buescher will drag race off pit road with Blaney. They stayed out there, Rick. They got the 6 stage points that they hoped to get.
Yeah, the problem is Bubba Wallace got 7 stage points. So a little bit better for Bubba Wallace. It was Chastain who only got 1 through that because Bowman was able to pass him right at the end. And so Chastain 1 point on stage 1. And so many times we have seen drivers miss either making the playoffs or advancing because of 1 point. And
Rick,
that's how important they are.
We talk a lot about speed here at Michigan. 2 mile, the fastest racetrack we see that's kind of non-restricted. That means aerodynamics and what the drivers do with it, probably the most important than anywhere. So much like Daytona and Talladega, the speed's so high here at Michigan that when the trail car gets directly in that wake on the straightaway, they use that wake to pull up, Jeff. But then when you get to the corner, you have to get out of this dirty air.
That's right. When you get out of that dirty air, it drives all the air underneath the car. The downforce gets created. It sucks the car into the racetrack. You can do that on the left side of the car, or you can do that on the right side of the car. Either way, it makes downforce.
The problem is when you're right behind that car, that's no man's land. Good on the straightaway, bad in the corner, and that's exactly what we saw happen with that 11 right there. Downforce, downforce, downforce. Slides up, gets in line too early. If he's in line later on the straightaway, it's just an advantage with acceleration, but they were still cornering. An instant arrow shift on that car, the 11 goes around.
Yeah, that's right. Everything we talked about before when the cars were side by side, the guy behind them could pull up so easily, that's because of that void in the air. And that also, the problem with that is also, though, it makes no downforce.
Right.
And even with one car, here it is right here. There's no better example. All the downforce is gone and around he goes.
What I can't say with confidence is, does he get up there and the car just get loose? Or does the car get up there and he loses the nose? Remember, he's heading at the wall at 190 miles an hour, which forces him to put just a little bit of wheel in, and then the front tires grab and spin out. But either way, it's just like Joey Logano told us, it happens in a hurry. You really have no time to slide and catch it.
And as we're getting ready to start stage 2, we'll remind you that we are embedded with 2 teams, one of those being the 21 of Harrison Burton, and Dave is with them.
Yeah, Jeremy Bones called him back to pit road during this caution. He's pitted on the first one as well. Little top off here. What's the plan now for Harrison going forward? What's he battling on track?
So we took a little gamble to get some stage points. It didn't quite pan out, but really pitting right here, we've only cost ourselves 1 spot from where we were running and got a little bit more fuel than the guys that pitted before the end of the stage. So we'll see how far we can go here.
How's the balance?
The balance has been pretty good. Just a little bit free in, a little bit tight in the center, but not bad overall. We were actually felt like we were making some progress and running some decent lap times. It's just so hard to pass here.
Thanks, Jeremy. And as Harrison battles on, just remember the heritage of this Wood Brothers racing team and some of the famous drivers who have driven for them. I mean, it's really a who's who when you look at NASCAR through the years. Carol Yarbrough, 13 wins for them with Wood Brothers Racing. And we'll just roll through the rest of them. A.J. Foyt, right? He was an IndyCar driver, right? Well, no, he raced for the Wood Brothers as well and won the Daytona 500 with them. David Pearson, 43 wins with Wood Brothers Racing. And then Dale Jarrett, his very first Cup Series win right here at Michigan International Speedway. It's a who's who when you talk about Wood Brothers Racing, Marty.
So, Dave, race fans at home have very likely seen Ross Chastain's watermelon smash when he wins a race. So, how does it all come together? Well, it all starts with Roy Miller, his hauler driver. So here's how it all happens. With about 5 to go or so, Roy Miller will walk back to the hauler for the 1 team. He will grab the watermelon from the hauler. but he does not leave the hauler until Ross Chastain crosses the start-finish line with the checkered flag in hand, and then it's a full-on sprint for Roy to get the watermelon out to Ross at the very front at the start-finish line. And I tell you what, Roy Miller is 60 years old, and he is a former MMA fighter. I asked him what he could run in the 40. He said, I don't know, I think I could run a pretty good 40, but that sprint is something to watch. If you've ever seen Roy come from the garage area with the watermelon to Ross, that's how it all comes together.
And look, I'm not going to say I'm superstitious, but do not leave that hauler with that watermelon until it's over.
Yeah, you don't want to have an early call, do you?
No, you can't Rick Allen the finish.
Well, we do not like the looks of that. I'm sure the fans here have been trying to not look back over to their left. Again, that's on the north side of the track. This is the radar and what it looks like. We're seeing a little darker green and even some yellow and red in there.
NASCAR was going to go green flag right here, but they're right next to us, and we're all looking at the same thing. We can see it raining right outside of turns 3 and 4. I think they wisely called this off.
There's no reason to restart. If we were 3 laps from halfway, 4 laps from halfway, and we think we can get a couple laps of racing in, or, you know, and maybe change the outcome of this race. But at this point, this race will become official at lap 100. It's halfway at the end of stage 2, whichever is sooner today. That would be halfway, which is before the end of stage 2. 200 miles an hour is nothing to mess with, nor should you run into the rain at any racetrack, but just have to sit and wait. Now, the good news is, if there is a silver lining to this, is it's one pretty solid cell, and if it can get through here and we can get back to trying, you know, the track dried way quicker than I thought it would have the last time.
Yeah, it did surprise me how quickly this track has dried. We have until 8:20, I think, Rick. As long as we can get this
That was
in.
last night. I don't know if has NASCAR given us it 2 again, 8:20. So that is also the number, which is the stop time for the race. If we get to a situation where they get to 8:20, the leader crosses the start-finish line after 8:20, they will go around, give them the white flag, and then the checkered flag.
That's
and
right.
You see the yellow lights coming back on the pace car. A very ominous sight here. As they go into turn 3, we ride along on the Busch Light Peach on board of Ross Chastain.
Oh, look at this right here, the Breastry on board, the spoiler cam for Austin Dillon. Yeah, that rain is just kind of heading this way. Look at that.
Yeah, look how dark it is in 3 and 4 right now.
And I don't think it will shock me if NASCAR, okay, we're just hearing the words, you just go ahead and bring them down pit road. So this is just a better job by NASCAR. Let's get the cars covered up before the rain. We already heard radio trouble, you know, on the Reddick car. We're not sure. It sounds like that's on the pit box, but let's get these cars covered up, sealed up. We don't want weather to affect somebody's day as far as messing up the electronics.
No, and if there were any lightning in this, it also clears the pit road quicker. You know, if you go ahead and get on pit road before it starts, it's just safer and better for everybody.
Now this time they're going to stop them just short of the start-finish line.
As soon as they're all stopped, they'll allow the crews to bring the covers out and put them on the cars. And it looks like it's rinse and repeat. Stage 1 complete as Ryan Blaney gets the win, and then Mother Nature interfered. Cars all came to pit road, storms came through, and NASCAR made the decision that they would postpone the race until this morning, and that's why we're seeing them rolling again, and they're about to make that choose decision again.
Yeah, so basically most of the field all pitted at lap 40. There's maybe 8 or 10, Blaney being one of them you talk about. He pitted at lap 48. You see we're at lap 54. This is kind of the start of stage 2. Denny Hamlin spent some time in his pit box. A little bit of repair to the underwing, trying to seal it up, clean it up. And he's now going to rejoin at the tail of the field on the lead lap, but he'll have to start all the way at the back. There's the 11 right there. Marty, what are you hearing about the 11?
Actually, it was 2 stops for Denny Hamlin. That second one just wrapped up. Chris Gabehart said everybody happy with the repairs. Everybody gave him a thumbs up. So Gabehart told me before all of this, they made an elaborate plan overnight. They had a labyrinth of toys laid out here to be able to make all those repairs. And that overnight time really helped him. He said the underbody was damaged about 60%. He said, I think we can get it back to 90% of what it's supposed to be. Not all the way fixed, but way closer for Denny Hamlin with that underbody now with this time here, Parker.
And Marty, that car he co-owns that he spun behind was in a unique position this race. He came in +3 above the cut line and then got to the lead there. But when that caution came out, his team was in a unique decision. Do they go for the stage win and get those crucial points, or pit with the strategy they think would put them in a position to win the race? They pitted because they believe they have a car that can win this race, Dave.
Martin Truex Jr. started 24th. Crew Chief James Small said all we need is track position. They got it through strategy and passing race cars. Truex has a fast Toyota, and he'll restart on the outside of this row.
And again, Truex, a driver who has finished second here 4 times and never has won. And this his final full-time season in the Cup Series, looking for a win here this year.
Rick, the weather's changed. It is dry, but it is windy. Big tailwind down the front stretch. It'll be interesting to see how they adapt.
It'll be 55 laps complete when they get to the line, and 65 to go in stage 2. It's underway from Michigan. Right away, we see the 22 of Logano jump out of line, get down to the bottom of the racetrack, making it 3 wide going into turn 1.
About 4 wide there about the 4th row.
Briscoe in that blue and white car on the outside. He made it 3 wide in the middle of the corner. Big gain for him.
Getting a shove from the 5 of Kyle Larson.
Oh, Chastain to the left rear. Now the 20 of Bell to the outside of Larson.
He's got him on either side, and Larson's going the wrong direction. Chase Elliott out in front here at Michigan. And that's Kyle Busch running second. Bubba Wallace is third. Martin Truex Jr. and Briscoe the top 5.
Battle for the lead between Kyle Busch and Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott rolled to the outside. 2 wide for first, 2 wide for second. Which lane will prevail?
Martin stays behind Kyle Busch. Bubba Wallace behind Chase Elliott. Those two continue side by side for the lead.
Still good.
And these cooler temperatures, when we came on board, they were only about a quarter of the way through the corner, and they were already wide open in the gas. Track has tons of grip.
And again, Busch looks to the inside, trying to take the lead away from Elliott.
Shorter around the bottom, but you have to put more steering wheel, which I think kind of hurts the top speed. He's unable to clear him. Fortunately for him, Bubba Wallace pulled in line behind him. He'll have another run. Look how quick the runs come.
Can he complete it this time? He drifts up in front of Elliott, and he does take the lead. 19 seasons, 19 years, Kyle Busch has won a race. This is the only one that's standing in his way to keeping that streak alive.
And now this is not a Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta rules package. They do not have reduced horsepower. They do not have high drag. Just the overall speed of this racetrack is allowing this kind of draft to dominate. You see it needing help down the straightaways.
Well, and on top of that, think about the gain of RCR. We haven't been anywhere near the front. Last week, Austin Dillon led a lot of laps. Kyle Busch leading early today. Changes at RCR, positive.
Chase Briscoe moves up to 3rd. He is definitely the car on the move, as Bubba Wallace is going to try to take that spot right back.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Rick, we left off basically where we finished. The racing yesterday was unreal. We weren't sure if that was the weather and the intensity with the potential shortened race, but with blue skies and the expectation to run all 200 laps today, the drivers have not really calmed down.
Well, and it's a shorter race, right? You got to go now. You know, this is not a 400-mile race any longer. You got to get track position and then keep it.
Here comes Chastain. He's on the inside in the 1, trying to get by Christopher Bell. Those two fighting for the 7th spot. And we see Martin Truex Jr. now look to the inside of Bubba Wallace.
So this is a difficult pass. We've seen several guys get to the bottom of another one. It's very difficult on the bottom. You just can't carry the momentum down the straightaway. Look at this right here. Briscoe going to make it 3 wide. We saw this many times before the race ended yesterday.
To the bottom, is he going to be able to drift up? Just in front of the 19. He's not going to be able to clear the 23 of Wallace.
Drift, slide, steer. I don't know what he was doing, but up the track he was heading. The front two almost working together.
Nose to tail and pulling away. They have 1.3 seconds over third right now.
Well, in that lap, they were 3/4 of a second faster. I actually believe if these front two Chevrolets do what they're doing here, Jeff, nose to tail down the straightaway, offset a little bit in the corner to allow the second place car to have that downforce, and then continue to commit to each other, they have a chance to kind of drive off the front of the field.
Bottom of the screen, Martin Truex Jr. tucks back in behind the 23.
With 58 laps to go in stage 2, a pit stop is required. These cars can run around around 50 on fuel. Kind of depends on your pace and if you're in the draft, but 50 is a safe number.
Dave, what about Briscoe? He's been the man on the move today.
He was. He fell back a couple of positions, Rick, but he was all the way up to 5th from restarting 9th. And this was after a yesterday where they had a motor miss that they couldn't diagnose, and then it went away. I talked to crew chief Richard Boswell about that this morning. He said, it's not an uncommon thing in the garage right now. He said, I know what it is. I don't want to tell you, but we know that it has gone away. And at the start of this race, Briscoe is ready to race. Marty?
Before the green flag, Chris Gabehart told Denny Hamlin the underbody is not perfect, but it's way better than it was before the red flag. Since the green flag, how's the car handling for the 11? Listen in.
Foul brake bad, really loose, off. Yeah, 4. Yeah, they're back up.
He did not wreck. He was able to save it, and here's what happened to Denny Hamlin a moment ago. He's way back in 34th, and as the green flag came out, here is how loose Denny Hamlin was off of turn 2. Look at that. What a save there for Denny Hamlin, Jeff Burton.
Yeah, that was a huge save. We talk about how important aerodynamics are. When that underbody gets messed up, it just completely changes the way your car drives. Your grip leaves the race car. You cannot be near as aggressive as you once were.
So that 1.3 second gap over third has gone away. Now Martin Truex Jr. right in the picture here, as these are the top 3. Kyle Busch right in front of Chase Elliott and Martin Truex Jr. So they weren't able to pull away. The guys behind him have worked together. Martin Truex Jr. has gotten to the back bumper of the 9. Let's see if he goes to the outside. He'll try to take second away from Elliott. He does it through turn 2 on the outside. And now we'll see if Martin Truex Jr. has anything for Kyle Busch.
Yeah, even yesterday, Truex liked the outside of the racetrack. Now going to the bottom.
3 champions of the sport fighting for the lead here at Michigan. And Martin's going to have it as they go into turn number 1. Here comes Chase Elliott.
And how about that speed on the 9? 205 miles an hour at the end of the front straightaway. The draft, the tailwind, that is rolling.
Into turn 3, Chase Elliott looks to the inside. Gets a little clean air on the nose of that number 9. Martin Truex Jr. It was the Iowa race where he announced that he would retire from full-time racing. And now out in front at Michigan. Chase Elliott running second. Busch, Wallace, Larson, the top 5. It's the infrequent Monday morning Cup Series racing from Michigan International Raceway as we're in stage 2 after yesterday's race was postponed until this morning. So Truex Jr. out in front, Chase Elliott, Bubba Wallace, Kyle Busch has fallen back to 4th, and Kyle Larson running in 5th. Parker, where have you found yourself to show us how fast they're going?
Well, Rick, you might have been able to hear it. I'm down here in turn 1. We talk about the high speeds in this racetrack. We've seen 205 miles per hour. Where did they do it? Right beside me right here. I'm telling you, I've gone 200 miles at this racetrack. This is the next best thing to experiencing the speed in these race cars. When they go by, it's a visceral, physical reaction you feel, and the wind that rushes by you is so intense. This is not open to the public, by the way, and I know that because yesterday I came here and I had a cop inform me that I probably shouldn't be standing here. So we probably have to get out here. I might get arrested. If so, tell everyone my story. This is awesome.
Parker,
check it out.
Parker, how much hair product do you have in, by the way? Because your hair isn't moving.
A lot of product. A lot.
As we mentioned, 205 miles an hour, and Parker and our camera person right there is literally feet away from those cars as they rocket through turn 1. Dave.
Look at the 24 of William Byron go from 25th all the way up to 7th. He's worked his way through a labyrinth of cars to get up to this position. I talked to him. Whoa, that was close right there off the bumper of Ross Chastain. He said the car was a little bit tight early, but they adjusted on it, and they adjusted on it very well.
It was close because they had caught the 42 of John Hunter Nemechek, who was way off the pace. I'm not exactly sure what's wrong with the 42.
I think the 42 had some rear damage, got into the wall, and yeah, everybody trying to make space.
And the 24 barely edging in front of the 1. It was close.
That's close in like race traffic. Forget 190 miles an hour on quarter exit.
That's asking for favors. That's what that is. Chastain's like, okay, we made that work. We're not going to do that again.
Listen in to William Byron.
That was sketchy. Not sure what the 42 was doing. I think he wonders the same thing. Mark's in rhythm here. Doing great, bud.
John Hunter Nemechek does have some toe link damage, yes, Jeff, with some contact. So they're waiting for a caution to be able to make that adjustment and make that fix on the 42. That's why he's so slow right now.
That's frustrating for the 42. I know that they're looking for some improvement out of Legacy. Big news out of Legacy. John Hunter Nemechek's teammate, Eric Jones, signed to a contract extension, kind of a Michigan guy. He hoped to be the first Michigan-born winner. He's running 23rd, John Hunter 35th, so not quite the day I think Legacy was hoping for so far in Michigan.
Yeah, and at these speeds, when you have a problem with your car, it's big, big trouble. We saw the 4-car Barry yesterday. He was just loose, and he got lapped in just a few laps. Not a track with these speeds, and you don't want everything just right.
How about Blaney? We talked about Byron up to 7th. Blaney also kind of moving back up. Remember, these are cars. Blaney's now up to 12th. They only have about 4 lap fresher tires. They chose to kind of run the strategy a little different for that finish of stage 1 and recovering.
Let's take a look at the Toyota driver update as we talk about moving. Martin Truex Jr. up front. Bubba Wallace running 3rd. Seabell is 6th. Tyler Reddick 14th. And Ty Gibbs running back there in 19th.
Yeah, Ty Gibbs, he's also one of those guys that pitted. He's picked up 11 spots since the restart. So they are good cars, Steve, so it's hard to know, but it does appear that tires matter here this weekend.
Which is great, right? But, you know, we want strategy to matter. Fuel mileage should be important when you pit. But we also love the idea that you could put 4 fresh Goodyear tires on and have an advantage. Now, I also don't want it to be so huge that everyone comes every time. That throws strategy out the window as well. What we're seeing here, I think, is a pretty comfortable mix.
There's Tyler Reddick, and that McDonald's car is making the pass on Chase Briscoe. So Reddick is up to 13th. Briscoe has fallen back to 14th now.
Yeah, remember the speed that Briscoe had when we started this race? He was flying to the front, and that has changed. Now he's backing up, and that also is an indication that tires do matter. If your car doesn't drive well and you're abusing those tires, you can hurt them, and it's going to make you go slower later in the run. Marty.
Well, Jeff, we talk about drivers going forward. How about one going backwards? Tyler Reddick restarted 6th when the green came out today. He is back in 13th. Just chatted with Billy Scott a moment ago, and he said the car is just a little bit free. It's not really handling that bad, but he got bogged down so much on the restart by choosing the bottom lane on the restart, Dave. That's what really hurt Tyler Reddick. Lost a ton of spots on that restart.
Kyle Busch has gone backwards after leading 8 laps. That car is just too free for too long going into turn 3, according to the driver. Now, interestingly, there is a huge tailwind down the front straightaway heading into turn number 1. It couldn't move Parker's hair anymore, but it is a big, big tailwind.
And it looks as though the two made contact with the wall coming out of turn 4. Very slow through the front stretch. Take a look.
He's underneath the 47. Stenhouse drives in the corner, tries to slide him, and around the car goes, and he just ran out of racetrack trying to save it.
Slide job gone wrong for Austin Cindric. He was running 17th.
And at these speeds, any bodywork damage, underbody damage, it's multiplied, right? You might be able to get away with it. You see a big shove by Ty Gibbs, increase that corner entry speed, but 47 had a front row seat for that too, Parker.
Right, Steve, and you know, this is what we talked about what these drivers say about these cars here. They're edgy, right? I talked to Austin Cindric about that exact situation. He said if you're gonna make a pass, you gotta take a lot of risks to the bottom, but he said there's a lot of risk in doing it, and I think you saw it right there, Jeff. These cars are just so edgy. When they start to go, they go quickly, like you saw for Austin.
It's a sprint here on Monday at Michigan International Speedway. Martin Truex Jr. out in front of the field.
Green flag stops underway here at Michigan in stage 2. Tyler Reddick leading. They had to wait a long time on fuel. Parker, his teammate, also came in. Bubba Wallace as well. Now comes down pit road Kyle Larson. Said he's just losing grip throughout the run compared to the other cars around him. You see the adjustment for that for Kyle Larson.
And as Marty pointed out, it wouldn't surprise me. There you go. If you have to wait a little bit on gas. burn more gas. You could put about 13, 14 gallons in over tires. If you burn more than that, you have to wait on fuel. Parker, the 9 of Chase Elliott, now on pit road.
Right, his car just building a little too free for the 9 there of Chase Elliott. He decides to come down pit road. You mentioned waiting on fuel. Some of these teams electing to do that. You have to bite the bullet at some point. That's what we're doing here. 4 Goodyear tires and an air pressure adjustment for Chase Elliott, the 9 car.
I don't think these cars are completely out of fuel. I think they're coming now because the stop is a little bit more manageable on time. Plus, this morning, they probably had an engine warm-up with the overnight, so that even burns a little bit more fuel, probably a little on the conservative side, but when you know you have to pit, you know, you don't want to run yourself out at a place like Michigan. Remember, this year in 2024 with the rules, that whole reserve system not as accurate as it used to be with some of the rules update. You got to go back to old-school calculations, Marty.
Steve, in the rain delay yesterday, you could hear Ross Chastain and how concerned he was about the handling of his race car. But today, he told Phil Surgeon a moment ago, it's loose, but it's a drivable loose. Don't make the adjustment very big, Parker.
And the 48 of Alex Bowman is also on pit road. Similar sentiments as we hear throughout this field. Loose is the word of the day. I believe some of the wind, the tailwinds we have into one affect him. It's 4 tires for him, Marty.
Chris Buescher on pit road, and man, he really took off after that last run started, Parker, and then kind of settled out towards the back half of the top 15, but they did not wait on fuel. We'll see if that helps him out a little bit here and maybe gains him a little bit of track position.
That's a great update by Marty. So the 17 chooses to try to get some track position and not wait on fuel. So they have enough, I'm assuming, to run the next 31 laps of this stage, but now they'll have to put a little bit more fuel in at the end of the stage. I mean, you have to put it in at some point. We'll just have to see. Some of it is where do you rejoin the track. These teams have this predictive software. You know where you should rejoin, and maybe they just want to leap to the front of traffic. If you see where Buescher rejoined the racetrack, you know, there's like 5 cars behind him. So nice work by the 17 so far. We'll see if it pays out when it cycles through.
Blaney and Gibbs, 2 drivers that came at lap 48, as well as Byron. Byron's running 4th, Blaney 6th, Gibbs 7th.
And there's your question about new tires, right? The 9 on him drives by the 8, hand out the window for the 8. You're going to see what green flag pit road entry looks like. The 8 will probably go all the way to the bottom, to the white line. He does. The 20 as well. They'll probably chase each other to pit road. No, the 20 isn't, but the 8 is coming. 24 right behind him.
And again, William Byron, one of the drivers that was on pit road at lap 48, so later than the others, and he's on pit road, Dave.
Kyle Busch always has a great way of describing things. He says, I have a lot of right rearness in the corners. So the crew will go to work changing tires for Goodyear tires on that and fuel and make the adjustment. As for the 24, pretty good and neutral by himself in the beginning of the run, said William Byron, but late in the run, he said it was a little bit too tight. You see him waiting there on fuel, trying to get that Chevrolet full.
Dave made a good comment there, trying to get that Chevrolet full. Steve, do they have to be full, though? You told me they can go 50 miles.
You want to have it full here. I would much rather have it full under green. Even though other cars on the racetrack are running 200 miles an hour, you may lose more time on the clock, but normally less positions on the racetrack than if you have to sit in your pit stall under yellow. That extra second, that could be 8 or 10 spots.
They talked about the time difference in tires. Chase Elliott, he has tires, but he's in traffic. He's running 38.10s. Truex is out there on old tires running at 38.10. So because of where he came out, it really wasn't a gain to pit early. Here comes Truex.
Dave.
From 24th to leading this race for 27 laps, Martin Truex brings his Toyota to pit road. He'll get 4 Goodyear tires and fuel in the car. No changes to it. He feels good about the handling, Parker.
His teammate Chris Ravel followed him down onto pit road here. They were really happy with the car yesterday. They had actually tightened up before yesterday. Felt like the track came to them. That played in their hands here a little bit today. As we mentioned, a lot of cars loose. They will do 4 tires. We'll see what they decide to do in terms of fuel. I expect it to be a bit of a wait on the 20 car waiting on that fuel.
As the 19 leaves pit road, the first car on the racetrack at speed is the 5 of Kyle Larson. He is going to be exiting turn 4, start finish line now, heading into turn 1. I think he's going to go by the 19. You see 19 left side of Kyle Larson. There you go. 19 was the leader of the race. Pre-stops, Kyle Larson over 3 seconds back. Between pit stop, fresher tires, traffic, a lot goes into the recipe. The result, Larson now in front of the 19 on the racetrack.
And Steve, you've told me the guy who comes in first normally has the advantage, and that's what we saw out of Larson, having that advantage right now.
Yeah, and it's big at tracks like Darlington, Richmond, where we have a lot of tire fall off. But Jeff's pointed out, tires have value, but it's not clear on the clock. I really think it's positioning around the racetrack and traffic more than anything.
Ryan Blaney still scored as the race leader. Logano about a second and a half behind him. These drivers still haven't come to pit road, as now we see Logano on pit road.
And these guys all have the opportunity. It'll be interesting to see how much fuel they decide to put in their car and adjustments. I mean, we're talking a lot about track position, but we haven't even reached halfway yet. There's a lot of racing still to go. And with the different weather conditions today, Marty, I'm sure everybody's looking for some changes.
Yeah, and Joey Logano saying his car's a little bit tight in the middle of 1 and 2, but loose off of turn 4, and he's having to wait on the throttle there. He told Paul Wolf, that's what I really feel like I need to fix. So they are going to wait on the fuel here. Paul Wolf agrees with you, Steve. They want to get it completely full here in stage 2 for the 22.
It's been so difficult in the new world of NASCAR with this whole fuel. It's not just fuel mileage, it's fuel quantity versus time. Just understand how much fuel every car has on board.
Blaney out in front in Michigan. 24 to go in stage 2. Here comes the 12 onto pit road. You're watching NASCAR Cup Series racing from Michigan, presented by Golden Corral. Dave.
And the car may be right about where the defending series champion wants it to be. At the very end, it got a little bit tight. Crew Chief Jonathan Hassler told me they were trying to adjust to make the car better at the beginning of the run, but they didn't want to kill the end of the run. And so right there at the very end, a little chassis problem for them is not a bad thing. Good run for the 12. He led a bunch of laps right there.
Blaney coming off pit road, and Ty Gibbs now scored as the race leader. That's important. Ty Gibbs running up front. Ty, one of those drivers that's above the cut line, but points very important for the 54 team.
what will be the lead of the race when the rest of the cycle goes through will be Kyle Larson in the 5 and the 19 of Truex. As we see more cars on pit road. The 3 of Austin Dillon, Dave.
On pit road now in that first pit stall in. Had a little trouble with it yesterday. Slid through his pit stall at one point and gave up a lot of track position. That was a good stop there. Dillon's back out with fresh rubber and fuel, Parker.
Dave, Ty Gibbs will pit from the lead here. He commented that he felt like the car was loose, but that he liked what it was doing and where it was going for 54 Ty Gibbs. They try to gain some track position through strategy here. As you see tires on the right side, and they're going to do 4 tires here and fill full fuel for Ty Gibbs.
To the wall, second, all green.
They got it full. Larson, Truex, again, they'll be running 1 and 2 as soon as Brad Keselowski decides to come to pit road, which looks like right now. So Keselowski will give up the lead, and that will put Larson out in front of Truex. Parker.
Right, Rick, the Michigan native now will tip out of the lead here. His home racetrack. He's finished second here 3 times. Would love to win here right now. He's telling me that, or telling the team that the car is just too tight in traffic, which is something we hear often with these cars about how loose can you be by yourself and then how tight can you be in traffic. You see that adjustment right here will be 4 Goodyear tires for them and waiting on fuel for Keselowski in the 6th car.
Brad Keselowski pits, that hands it over to these guys, and this right here, 1 car length apart, and they are basically racing for the lead with 17 to go, Marty.
Denny Hamlin finally coming down pit road. Remember, after all those repairs, as the race started to go back green, they have no grip in the 11 car at all. Hamlin said, I'm just really struggling out here, and made no forward progress on the track. They waited a little bit on fuel there. Remember, they had a little bit of a fuel advantage over everybody else, and just right side tires for Denny Hamlin.
This battle is so good in the pass. You know, we didn't show you the 5 driving by the 19 because he didn't do it on the racetrack. He did it through the pit cycle. When the pit cycle started, Kyle Larson was 3 seconds back of Martin Truex Jr. as we ride on board with the Toyota front bumper cam. Gives you such a great look at the racetrack at these speeds. But if you look at the comparison, Larson a little better, almost a second with just overall pit road speed. Also, Larson's pit crew is faster. And looking back at both pit stops, I think they were both full. Now, the 5 was definitely on the edgier side. Barely saw the fuel in the hose when they left. The 19 seemed to make sure it was packed full of fuel. But I thought both cars left pit road full of fuel.
15 to go in stage 2. There is a playoff point out there, and a lot of points for Martin Truex Jr., who has yet to win in 2024. wind is back out at Michigan, and this time it was from 3 different issues. So tire issues for, we saw Gilliland, the 22 of Logano, and then also Allmendinger.
Yeah, it was crazy because it all happened at once. Right rear tires, it looks like on all 3 of them. Jeff, you and I were having a conversation. You know, this is a track where you use the rear air pressure to kind of get the car in a good aero position, let it squish down more. Green flag pit stops are definitely more abusive on tires if you are questionable on air. Going right hard on the racetrack versus pace laps abuses the tire more. It's hard to say exactly, but very coincidental that all 3 happened at once. That, or there's some debris out there that all 3 of them hit. It could have been that as well. Pure speculation until we kind of see what happens through the rest of the race.
Well, it certainly gets everybody's attention. Every crew chief, everybody that makes the decisions on what kind of air pressure to put in tires. You just had green flag take off, as you said, Steve. That abuses the tires. And you had 3 on this, essentially within 2 laps of each other.
Let's listen to the 22 or ride along with him.
Okay, so 2 things. Number 1, incredible job saving that race car. Where that tire started to have its issue, he was still in the corner. Really good job. It's a good thing it didn't happen 2 seconds before, because he wouldn't have been able to. Then the 16, that thing blows on the straight.
Yep.
All the tires went down after he was sliding it.
So remember, the concept of lower air pressure. So at short tracks, we have different conversations, right? You get the tires really close to flat because they grip better as you run. At these higher speed racetracks, the travel of the car is limited by rules. So you get to a point where the only way you can get the rear diffuser, that thing in the back of the car that makes all that downforce closer to the ground, is literally take air out of the tires and it squishes more like a balloon. Let's listen into the 16.
Sorry, Travis.
It's all good. I'm questioning if something was on the track and everybody's running it over. The 2 cars blew it right rear and then we blew it left rear in the same lap, so I'm not sure.
Well, so there you go. So Travis mentioned that they blew a left rear. Well, it was AJ talking to his crew chief. You know, it's just hard to truly understand what happened to all 3 of the cars. I will say, super coincidental, Marty. They all happened at once.
Yeah, that's probably more than a coincidence, Steve. In fact, Joey Logano said on the radio, I think our right rear tire might have come off. You can see why he might have thought that, because there is nothing left of the right rear for the 22. That's what came off Joey Logano's car. I just asked Paul Wolf the question that you were asking, Steve. Could it have been low air pressure? And Paul told me, well, we are pretty low. I'll admit that.
Well, I appreciate him showing some of his poker hand. You know, I think, like, look how close it is. Jeff, we keep talking about the speeds. They're very, very high, but also the field itself is just stacked up with lap time. In certain positions, you know, cars can make good lap time running all the way back in 20th. So everyone looking for that little advantage. Sometimes you can cross the line. I have in my career. I mean, it happens to all of us. It's you know, if this is good, Rick, how do you know a little less won't still be good, right?
Well, I thought you ran computer simulations for all that.
Well, you do, but computer simulation, it's hard to simulate green flag pitting.
So something also, they all pitted within 2 laps of each other. So they all had tire failures very close to each other. I can't tell you the number of times I blew right fronts at Dover saying it's not the air pressure, it's not the air pressure. Finally got tired of waking up hurting. Put some air pressure in that thing, and we quit blowing them. So, yeah, air pressure matters.
Well, folks, you can join NASCAR's free rewards program and start earning points that turn into member-only rewards you can earn every time you check in for a race, from home or at the track. Trade points in for free tickets and one-of-a-kind race day experiences. Visit NASCAR.com/fan-rewards.
So much like we saw yesterday near the end of stage 1, we have a split. Pit road is open. Cars were just off from pit road under green, so you can easily stay out here and make it to the finish. Your tires are going to have good grip. You have fuel in the car. What's your priority? Because pitting here does help you towards the end of this stage and into the next stage. And when you look at that playoff bubble with Truex, Wallace, Gibbs, and Chastain currently above, Buescher, Busch, Briscoe below, you know, Busch, Briscoe, Gilliland, I think you're calling the race, you know, to try to win it. But if you're Chastain or Gibbs, you might think points. Let's see what the field is. Split, there you go. Chastain stayed out. Busch stays out with him. Dave.
Truex gives up 2nd position when the day started. James Small, his crew chief, told me we could not do it on 2 stops. With this pit, they can make it on one more stop. Just split the stage in half, partner.
And Bubba Wallace will pick from the third position in the middle of your screen there. This would be 4 tires for him as he was just a little tight inside that race car. That will make a small air pressure adjustment for Bubba Wallace, Marty.
Kyle Larson pits from the lead. Cliff Daniels asked him on the radio, so if I pit you here and you restart 22nd or so, do you think you can get to the top 5? He said, I think I can get there. Not sure I can get the lead. They did wait just a little bit, so Larson in a drag race there. His teammate Chase Elliott shoots around him. Bubba Wallace was on his right side. They leave pit road, but William Byron with a 2-tire call by Rudy Fugel. They gain 5 spots, Rick.
Yeah, the first 4 off of pit road did that 2-tire stop strategy. The caution came out for the 16 who went around, but there were 3 different cars that had tire issues here for the end of stage 2. And by the way, make sure to check your fantasy lineup. You're watching the NASCAR Cup Series from Michigan, presented by Golden Corral. NBC Sports coverage of NASCAR on USA is brought to you by Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. Is it the best Coke ever? Bank of America. What would you like the power to do? And by Golden Corral. Endless wings and baby back ribs are on now at Golden Corral. The only one for everyone. Dave, how about the entry to the pit stall for the 21 of Harrison Burton?
It was a bit challenging this time, Rick. I don't believe he received any contact. Nonetheless, you watch the arrow there on the 21 of Harrison Burton. As he comes in and makes that hard turn to the left, he's also got to stab the brakes and get the car stopped as he goes around the car in front of him. It's spun to his right. As he comes around, now watch the pit crew go to work. This is important because this is a very young pit crew. And Steve, I would think you wouldn't want to create these situations for him, but you see him go right to work. You're going to have adversity on pit road. You have to know how to react, and it was good for the young crew to have this situation happen, even if it was a detriment to their track position.
The pit crew did a really nice job staying calm, getting out of the way, but in the end, it's like a -7 or 8 spots. And when we talk about track position, it's obvious when you go from 20th to 1st, but it is a constant battle all day. Harrison had done a nice job getting out of the 30s up to like the 21st position. Now he's going to be back to almost 30th again, and those 10 spots on these restarts are huge. Let's listen in exactly what happened to the 21.
You're going to make it. You're going to make it. Turning in right here, right here, right here. Stop. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You're in the box. You're in the box. Pit it, pit it, pit it, pit it.
Great job by Jeremy Bullins letting everybody know he was legal and go ahead and pit the car.
Yeah, so one thing, he had the 19 car behind him, the 24 in front of him, so he had to get around the 19 car, try not to impede him, and that's something that Harrison has had trouble with, trying to find a way to get in his pit box, be clear, not impede the people behind him. He's been working on it, but clearly more work to do.
Right now, the front 6 did not come to pit road under this most recent caution, as we see the green flag coming back out with only 5 laps to go in stage 2.
Around 20 laps on tires for the front row, the 1 and the 8 or 9 laps for others. But look at the chaos behind the 5 of Kyle Larson, that blue and white car on the bottom, trying to make 4 tires work. Ty Gibbs trying to find some points. He's that black car at the top of 3 wide.
Big shove there coming from the 3 of Austin Dillon to Ty Gibbs. Pushes him out and trying to close the gap on Chastain and Busch, who rocketed on this restart. Oh, and around goes to 5.
Big
Kyle Larson involved in this one, as well as the 14 of Briscoe. Multiple cars. You see Buescher, last year's winner, in the grass.
Buescher's one of those guys. He's racing to try to get in the playoffs.
A lot of damage.
Does he have?
Look at the damage to the 5 of Larson. Christopher Bell, Gilliland also involved in this. You mentioned those points. Buescher fighting to get into the playoffs.
Doesn't look bad. Of course, we can't see the other side. The nose has some damage for sure. The splitter on the left front, that does not look good, Steve.
No, very big damage for these aero conditions. The 5 of Kyle Larson sitting in the grass on the front stretch. His day looks complete. It's hard to say from this angle, but definite damage.
And Christopher Bell, he's sitting in the grass also. Big damage.
There's a very good chance this will end the stage as they attend to the drivers, the AMR safety crews there. Let's see what happened.
Yes, this is all the way back to the restart. You see the 5 of Larson, 23 of Bubba Wallace. These guys all have new tires. They're trying to make a move towards the front to get these stage points. A big shove gets the 5 to the bottom 3 wide. I like this move so far.
Yeah, just aggressive racing. You can see how aggressive it is all the way through the field. Coming to the stage end, trying to get points, trying to get track position for later in the race. 3 wide. Larson all the way on the bottom of the racetrack.
And then something happens down here. I'm not sure if he just gets loose up the racetrack. The 15 slow in front of him. Oh, the 5 just gets loose by himself, spins out, and as he comes up, he really collects. I think that's a 23. We didn't see that originally, but that's a pretty heavy damage to the front of the 23. Another car, Jeff, who is in this bubble conversation.
Yeah, nothing he can do. Larson's just on the slide right now. Now he's in the gas trying to keep from hitting the wall. Bubba Wallace trying to avoid him. Contact. Gilliland comes in hard.
Yeah, Gilliland had gotten sideways too on the lower part of the track. Got into the 20 of Bell, it looked like.
Logano had already had issues. He was racing to try to be the first car lap down.
But this just, so there's no argument about Kyle Larson's skill level. The guy, you know, people make the statement that he's perhaps the best to drive a race car, right, with everything we see him do. And then you take a race car that could run up front with great raw speed, and you put him in these air situations, and his car spins out.
Well, when you're out front, your car drives completely different. And when you get back here, now your car doesn't make near the grip. Denny Hamlin yesterday spun out all by himself trying to race for the lead. These cars are difficult to drive. And aerodynamically, they're very difficult. Right along, this is a great shot. You can see how aggressive it is. Blocking, shoving, hitting. Bubba drives the car in the corner pretty deep. Larson even deeper. Larson in the gas. And now everybody knows he's in trouble. Bubba Wallace was out of the throttle. He saw it coming. But it's nothing you can do. It is a helpless feeling. You could hear Bubba Wallace, the second to 5 car, the right rear stepped out just about 5 inches. Bubba Wallace no longer was committed to the throttle because he knew something was going to happen. Parker.
Right, and he's already been on pit road. Booty Barker doing a great job of instructing the team exactly what to do in terms of trying to fix the damage. They assessed the toe. They felt like that was fine, but he definitely has damage in the left front there, and you can see that hood had buckled. They were working there in that left front fender, and then there's sort of a hole in the left side door area they're trying to tape up. They went back around to stay on the lead lap here. They'll come back around and go on to pit road again to continue to fix this damage once they get caught up, Marty.
Just potential massive playoff implications from that wreck. Bubba Wallace, also Ross Chastain, and how about the decision by Phil Surgeon to not pit there for Ross Chastain? They're sitting in second. Obviously 2 to go here in the stage. Looks like they will collect 9 stage points. That could be critical. And meanwhile for Chris Buescher, he was involved in that as well. He also a cut line driver. They've been focused on the left front. They also, Steve, felt like there was some damage on the right rear of the 17. Overall, not bad. It will not be ideal, but at least they are not out of the race.
That allows them to continue to try to score points. Let's ride on board with Chris Buescher.
Yeah, so Chris Buescher, he got 6 stage points in the first stage for finishing 5th. Bubba Wallace got 7 for finishing 4th. But they will not get any in this one. Chastain, he got 1 point in the first stage. He's going to get 9 in this one. And Ty Gibbs, don't count Ty Gibbs out. Remember, he's in this battle also. He's going to finish 3rd in this stage.
Buescher and Wallace, even though involved in this incident, they have remained on the lead lap. So that's big also as far as gaining points.
The question that the teams have and we have is how much damage. We saw what happened to Denny Hamlin when the underbody of his car got damaged. He was exceptionally slow. They've continued to work on it, trying to make it better. At these high speeds, it is more of a penalty when you have damage. When you have this kind of damage, Steve, you want to be at Martinsville, you want to be at Richmond, you want to be somewhere like that. You don't want to be here where aerodynamics matter so much.
Well, you can instantly see, it's hard to tell the damage to the 23, but look at the left side right here. Look at that hood vent, not sealed up, the big gap between kind of the louvers and the hood itself. That right there doesn't, you think, oh, what's the big deal? How much of a difference that can make? But that completely changes the underbody pressure of these cars. And you see they're going to try to tape it down the best they can, but this is definitely a hurt 23 car.
There you go.
22, I think his day is over. Between the flat tire and being caught in this wreck, they're going to...
He'll back it up. He's got a win already this season, so locked into the playoffs. That bubble, though, is definitely volatile.
Well, and look at the points currently with Busch leading. I mean, we keep talking about the points battle because there is going to be one. With this many races left, in my opinion, we're going to have a points battle here. Somebody's going to get in on points, but throw Kyle Busch in victory lane. And look, I mean, that is like the wrinkle that, Jeff, that's the wrinkle that you and I didn't really experience. Well, most of our points racing was just a math equation. This kind of win in advance changes the finish line or changes the line you're shooting for.
Stage 2 win goes to Kyle Busch. That is his first stage win of the year and the first for RCR as a team. So looking for bright spots. Well, there's one for Kyle Busch as he wins stage 2, but a chaotic finish to this stage. There's multiple cars involved in this accident. you can represent your favorite driver and take advantage of amazing deals at the NASCAR shop. Check out the greatest selection. They have t-shirts, die casts, much, much more. Visit NASCAR.com/shop. 2 stages complete in the FireKeepers Casino 400 from Michigan International Speedway. And now pit road will be open, and we'll start to see any takers. And it looks as though the one of Ross Chastain's coming in front of you, Marty.
Yeah, he had to come. They pitted last at lap 88, but they got those 9 critical stage points. Ross Chastain told Phil Surgeon a moment ago, we're making gains on corner exit, but I need just a little bit more security right there. But we are definitely closer than we were earlier today. And a great example right there of waiting on the fuel. They want to make sure they got it completely full.
So as Chastain comes to pit road, Kyle Busch actually stayed out, which is surprising. He will be the leader, but he was last on pit road at lap 91.
Welcome back to Michigan here in the Infield Care Center. Kyle Larson just checked and released from the Infield Care Center. Kyle, what happened in that incident down turn 3 and 4?
Yeah, just restarts are difficult here, you know, with the side drafts and all that. And I was just trying to, you know, get all I could and, yeah, just try to, like, funnel to the top. And I just moved up, got too close to whoever was outside of me and sucked myself around. And, yeah, just bummer. We had an extremely fast car, so hate that I screwed that up for our team and as well as the others out there that got collected in it. So, yeah, just trying to get what I could, get some stage points, and just lost it.
We've seen this a lot. Why is it so difficult to drive these cars? We've seen so many self-spins at this place.
Yeah, I don't know. I think just a hard tire and, you know, a surface that, you know, you have a lot of grip until you don't. So, yeah, just screwed that up.
Tough conditions out there, Marty.
Let's chat with Phil Surgeon, who got his driver, Ross Chastain, 9 stage points. We've been embedded with them in stage 2. So any question there on your decision to stay out there and gain those stage points versus pitting like most everybody else did?
No, I think it was a pretty clear decision for us. You know, the 17, the 23 had gotten a couple more points than we did in the, you know, the end of stage 1. So we needed a little leverage on them, and we got a lot of racing left. Car's been pretty good today, better than yesterday for sure. So looking forward to it.
Steve, I asked him about playing the game Randall Burnett played by leaving Kyle Busch out a moment ago. He said the stop before, we didn't fill it up like the 8 did, so we couldn't play that. So, yeah, it's a fuel tax at some point, Steve. You got to pay it at some point in the race.
Yeah, you have to, but for the one of Ross Chastain, I think I agree, a lot of racing left, 76 to go. You mentioned the leader, Kyle Busch, last on pit road at 91. You know, we think they could go 50, so you say they got to go 99, but Dave, with enough yellows and saving gas under these cautions, I'm guessing the 8's going to try to stretch it to 1 stop.
I asked Randall Burnett about that, Steve. He said, I don't need any more caution laps. What I need is for Kyle to be conscious of his fuel consumption. I had to do something different, so I left him out there. And when they come to pit road, Steve, you know this, they'll have to stop and, as Marty said, pay that fuel tax. It'll be a long fill for the 8. One more stop as things run right now.
Now he just wants to have a clean restart and use the clean air. The worst thing that can happen is lose the lead and give up the clean air. It's going to make it very difficult.
A little more difficult to save fuel, though, when you're out in front. We'll listen in to the spotter of the 1, which is Brandon McReynolds.
Green. Half front and quarter up. Quarter off yaw back. 7 coming back your bumper now, still inside. Way down there, inside. Inside, very bottom. Still down there. Be checking up a little in the middle. 2 inside. On in front. Still 2 on your bottom. Quarter front. Middle's open. Inside. 1 in, 1 out. 1 in, 1 out. Still in the middle. Still middle. 1 on your top now, 99 your help. Just shooting 11 and half back. Still up there. Outside.
Brandon McReynolds trying to help be the eyes from above for Ross Chastain. As Byron has gotten in front of Busch, now that's going to help him with fuel. He can draft right behind the 24.
Yeah, it's going to help him with fuel, but he really want to try to get out there and stretch the lead, and these cars behind trying to catch up and get there. You see the 6 of Keselowski, a big move on the 12 of Blaney, then gets away down the straightaway.
Ty Gibbs now to the back bumper of Kyle Busch up front as these 3 trying to decide this position. Now almost 4 wide as Chase Elliott on the bottom.
On top of the screen, you see Ty Gibbs trying to get by Busch for second.
He'll make that pass. And so Busch falls back to the 3rd spot.
It's been a struggle for William Byron lately. Gone 9 races without leading a lap. That is a career-long streak. Feels good for him to see that.
Up front, and this is when you want to start to see some improvement again. He had such a great start to the 2024 season. Multiple wins early, and then there's been a drought, but with the playoffs only 2 races away, you definitely want to have those momentum building.
The goal for the rest of the field, 72 to go, is to find time to make one final pit stop. You'd like to make it with about 50 to go, I assume.
For Kyle Busch, I thought he did a nice job on the start. I don't think his car is great, and also he's on older tires. He did a good job of staying in second. Now, though, they're coming from behind, and all of them have better tires.
You got a teammate with you, though.
Yes.
Dylan right behind him.
Good to push hard when you get there, nothing in front of it.
As we see Gibbs is caught up to Byron. Let's see what Ty Gibbs can do with this 2nd place.
Ty, one of those drivers we talk a lot about trying to make the playoffs on points. He's thinking, if I win a race, the stress is gone heading to Daytona next week.
The car length, the gap between the top 2. Gibbs peeked to the inside to get a little clean air. Kyle Busch now just behind the 3 of Dylan. William Byron will be trying to sweep Daytona as he won the Daytona 500 to start the season. That one's coming up next week. The great unknown, but As we mentioned, trying to get some momentum building for the final 2 races. Close one here for the 12 of Blaney.
Yeah, Ryan Blaney on the bottom of the racetrack. Slid up in front of Austin Dillon, and big save right there. Got loose. You see the battle for the lead on the bottom right-hand corner. Look at Blaney here. He had to come all the way out of the gas. Dillon, nice job. I'm really impressed with the speed of this 54 car, Ty Gibbs. He's got a little more laps on his tires. But here comes Keselowski. He also has the same amount of laps as Gibbs does.
William Byron came to pit road on 112, lap 112. Gibbs was 102, Keselowski 103. Fastest lap that time was the 19 of Martin Truex Jr., though, who's running back there in 7th. Dave.
Rick, this has been a solid day for Austin Dillon and the 3 group. That's exactly what they needed. You see him running in 8th right here, being challenged by Tyler Reddick for that spot. But remember what the week has been about. It's been about recovering from controversy. Last week, he won the race at Richmond, but in a style which was questioned by many and then penalized by NASCAR. 1 bump and then 2 bumps took him to victory lane. He will keep that victory from Richmond, but it will not propel him into the playoffs. They're going to appeal that decision by NASCAR on Wednesday, and so there's been a lot swirling around this 3 camp. Justin Alexander, the crew chief, brought the team in this weekend, gave them a good race car for Austin to take and keep at the front of the pack, and they've been running up there all day long. Again, top 10 for Austin. The appeal held on Wednesday, but for now, Michigan in front of them and having a great day.
You see the penalties on the left side there. Austin Dillon not eligible for the playoffs. They were penalized 25 driver owner points. His spotter was suspended for 3 races, and Logano, for what he did on pit road after the race, was fined $50,000. Looking back from the registry on board at the 45, Tyler Reddick.
Getting high, you're fine. 1 back, 2 back, you're driving away.
Dillon running in that 8th spot in front of Reddick.
You mentioned that spotter. That's the voice of Brett Griffin you hear. He's filling in on the 3 car. These restarts are crazy enough. Now, Brett's a good spotter, but just a different voice in your head. It's got to be a little unnerving on these restarts.
Yeah, any kind of change like that, you never know how it's going to work. Brett is a very experienced spotter, does a really good job. Spotted for me for a little bit of time. I put some years on his life.
Reddick looking to the inside of Dillon for position, and Gibbs still chasing after Byron up front here at Michigan. Corey LaJoie bringing out the caution. He was just upside down. Rolled back over onto his tires once he hit the grass. Great sign right there when you see the window net come down. But oh, what a wild ride Corey LaJoie just had.
Slid forever on the roof down the backstretch. Then the grass got him tumbling again. You see the damage to the roof of the race car.
I happened to look out of the window and I saw he was in the air.
See the AMR safety crew immediately to Corey as he climbs out of that race car. Remember, these cars over 3,000 pounds, and take a look at how he gets upside down.
Going by Noah, a little bit of contact on with the right front fender. Car turned sideways and just flipped in the air. That is, quite honestly, that's just not acceptable. There's no way that a car, when it turns like that, should get up in the air that easily. There has been millions of dollars and hours of time spent to prevent that from happening. That's going to catch everybody by surprise.
And you see right there, slide, that gives you a great view of the whole underbody we talk about, the underwing, everything that people talk about for damage. And then here it catches the grass and a couple pretty violent tumbles. I mean, you said it, Rick, 3,000 pounds. It looks like a Matchbox car just tumbling through the grass. Let's watch it again, Jeff.
This
he
is
has
earlier.
a big run.
This was earlier. So this was, they were racing, this was the lap before. And, you know, obviously drivers upset at each other. But, you know, right here, I just feel like, yeah, he's just turning, right? And I can't tell from this shot if Noah comes down or not, but either way, this car to get in the air like that is shocking.
And Steve, you've shown us over and over when those flaps open up, that's supposed to help keep these cars on the ground. We saw the flaps open up there, but that thing immediately got upside down.
And then right here, upside down into the wall. Yes, Rick, to answer your question, the roof flaps are designed to keep these cars on the ground. That car left the asphalt faster than I have seen, right? I mean, when it turns sideways, I mean, look how violent this flip is. Wow.
You can see right here, he turns to go underneath Noah, and a little bit of contact. Noah really never moved his car. That's just racing. I mean, I don't think anything was on purpose there. I just think he makes contact, and then there, as soon as the car gets sideways, air just lifts the car.
And again, to give you, well, let's hear from Dave first.
On pit road now is the 8 car of Kyle Busch. It was a long discussion between him and the crew. He thought he wanted to stay out. They called him in. He'll pit here and get fuel and 4 Goodyear tires, Marty.
So 62 to go right now, Dave. Obviously, they could not make it to the very end, but making the call here to bring Ross Chastain down pit road. Phil Surgeon made the call. A lot of cars stayed out, Steve. So what do you think about this call for some teams to pit here with 62 to go?
Well, you hate to give up track position, but adding fuel right here would shorten the subsequent green flag pit stop, maybe only 2 tires later in the race.
5 cautions here at Michigan, and the most recent is because the 7 goes up in the air.
Speeds high here at Michigan, and now we've had a car go upside down. Let's look at another replay. A little bit of contact between the 7 and the 10. The 7 starts to spin like normal, and we freeze it kind of right here. Roof flaps up, hood flaps are both up right here, which normally sets the car back down, not for the 7 of LaJoie. Instantly in the air, flipping him onto his roof. A big slide on his roof, all the way down into the grass, Jeff. We haven't seen a car flip that quickly by itself in quite some time.
Yeah, it's pretty concerning because normally we see a car flip, there's another car involved and it can disrupt the air or push the car and help get it launched. But in this case, it really, I know they made contact, but really as far as it flipping, it's a single car event.
So let's take a look at our virtual Toyota car and let's talk about exactly these safety features and how they should work. I circled them in the replay. The hood flaps let the pressure out from underneath the hood. The roof flaps are supposed to lower the speed over the car. The right roof flap, when it opens, it's actually connected to a flap as well down in the diffuser for the underbody. Now, when the car gets straight backwards, this diffuser flap makes a big difference. The goal is to keep the car on the racetrack. But in this 7 situation, obviously it's going to be really looked at because it isn't what happened. So as we put this car into the kind of the wind tunnel and show you what we're looking for, right? When the car spins around, it's the pressure under the hood that opens the hood flaps. It's the airspeed going over the roof that opens the roof flaps. And then right there you see kind of the red glow. All of that should be a higher pressure area on the roof, keeping the car on the racetrack. Obviously not the case for the 7. Jeff, this will get NASCAR's attention more than perhaps anything. There'll be a lot of questions and a lot of work done after this accident.
Oh, there's been so much time spent on this to prevent it from happening, but, you know, obviously more work to do.
All right, this is riding along with Corey.
No thanks, Rick.
So the one thing is very successful about this, if you look at the structure of the roof, it is intact. You can hardly see that the roof has collapsed at all. And that is a major difference in this car. In the older car, we'd see some roofs that have collapsed. In this car, it's sitting there almost like nothing happened.
So the 17 behind the wall and back to action here. William Byron in that 24 on the outside line brings them back to green. And now just 59 laps remaining. 2 and 3 wide all over the racetrack, and what a shot coming out of that third spot is the 9 of Chase Elliott. He takes the lead away. Elliott up front, William Byron and Keselowski running second and third. 48 of Bowman was up there, he's fallen back. Ross Chastain running in that 6th spot right now. Chastain needing a good finish here. You see his name, and he's in the green right now as far as the playoff bubble. And we're hearing from NASCAR and the AMR safety that the 7 and Corey LaJoie has been evaluated and released from the infield care center. Great news there.
So we talk about 200 miles an hour. Every one of these drivers drove by that 7 car wrecked on the backstretch, dropped the green, and they go right back to 200 miles an hour like it's normal.
Not normal.
Well, yeah, not normal. I was trying to find a way to describe it. Not normal is a nice way. I mean, and as fans, I'm a race fan. It just amazes me what these drivers are willing to do as the 9 continues to lead the 6 and the 24. A little bit of a split. Remember, some cars pitted, some cars didn't. The first car off pit road, the 1 of Chastain back at 8th. Everybody still needs a pit stop still, but they will maybe come at different times now.
You had mentioned earlier, though, about 50 laps, so the earliest might be around 7 laps from now. And now let's hear from Corey LaJoie. He's with Parker.
All right, Rick, you mentioned check and release for the infield care center. If that scary incident down the backstretch, flipping, Corey, what occurred between you and the 10 as you went down the backstretch?
That's just about the way the year's gone. You know, we have a good car, and I find a way to flip it upside down. Twice this year we've been upside down, and I haven't been upside down in my whole career. That's just how, unfortunately, the year for our 7 team's been. We've had speed, just haven't been able to put together. But the 10 chopped me a couple of times, especially off 2 when I'd had a run. And I don't know. I haven't seen the replay yet if he pulled it off the wall when I was trying to get to his left rear and slow him down. It was a ride, buddy. There's sparks and dirt and all sorts of stuff coming in. I just hate that our Garner truck and Camaro got a little dinged up, and I think we had a top 12, top 10 car today, and we ended up on a roof.
I think I speak for everyone saying we're glad you're okay with that sort of vicious hit that you had there.
Yeah, it's just safe cars. You know, kudos to NASCAR for building safe cars. Joy of Seaton, shout out to them. You know, bell helmets, everybody that keeps me safe inside the car. Strobe belts. That's a big lick, and I feel like I could jump back in that thing and keep going if they let me, but I'd say today I'm like,
what a testament to the safety of these race cars, guys.
Yeah, so Corley Joy is one of the more safety-conscious drivers in our series. His father started a seat company years ago, and that sparked Corey's interest in safety. He is very active on the safety side of things. He is as educated as any driver on the field about it.
You're talking about two-time Xfinity champion Randy LaJoie.
Yeah, the only thing that really comes to mind that makes this different is with this tremendous kind of wind down the backstretch. They're driving into that headwind, so the car itself, say it's going 190 miles an hour. If that's a 20-mile-an-hour wind, it's seeing 210-mile-an-hour airspeed. So all these safety flaps are about an air crossover speed. Now look, that's not an excuse. Cars should never go in the air, but I know all of those details would be looked into, and I'm sure there'll be adjustments made if needed. You know, the safest place for cars to remain are on the ground. We can't have cars getting airborne. Great to hear Corey LaJoie and hear he's okay.
Marty.
Rick, outstanding point by Steve a moment ago. In fact, Chris Gabehart made the same point to Denny Hamlin before the green flag. Listen in.
A lot of guys have damage. A lot of guys got their hands full. So
I'm going to update you on the wind. Hard gust in your right side door in the middle of 3 and 4. That's where all the calamity is.
So, Jeff, if your crew chief gives you that information, what do you do different behind the wheel? Anything, or is it just helpful to have the knowledge that that's where the wind is blowing?
Oh, there's no question there's things you can do. When you drive into turn 1, that car, it's pushing you down the back straightaway. It's making you go faster, so you actually have to lift a little bit earlier. And aerodynamically, the car is trying to shove you out of the racetrack. It's going to be worse than 1 and 2. And 3 and 4, though, you're driving into a headwind. You can be more aggressive. You got to take advantage of that wind because it'll help your car drive better in turn 3.
Elliott continues to lead in Michigan.
laps at Michigan International Speedway. William Byron brings the 24 to pit road. He was reminded by his crew chief, hit your marks. The crew chief told the crew, you've got to get this car full. He'll take on 4 Goodyear tires this time, pack the fuel into the cell, and now he's out of here. The first one to take advantage of this pit cycle.
Trying to understand the timing of that whole situation. Byron last on pit road at lap 112. You see the thumbs up from the gas man, so they might have waited a half a second just to make sure it was full, but it's not like he sat there waiting on the fuel for extra amount of time. That's really what this whole wave of pit cycle is going to come down to, assuming we don't have a yellow. That'll upset it all, but if they all cycle under green, how long will everybody's pit stop be? How well can you get on and off pit road?
And Steve, so much is the timing of fuel. So really a 2-tire stop doesn't give you much of an advantage if you're waiting on fuel.
Well, it doesn't matter for the top cars, but if you look at from Busch on back, who has much, less time on their fuel cell, the math may work where 2 tires is an advantage. We'll just have to see how much fuel they think they can get in each situation. And then, Jeff, are 2 tires good enough to hold off a lead?
Yeah, that's the question. I think 2 tires would be great in the front. I just don't know that they're going to be good if you get back in traffic.
Close call for Chase Elliott while Byron was on pit road and right up against the wall. Using all the track, right, Jeff?
That's what you have to do. I mean, it's just every little bit that you're not in the gas, the car's just not making enough pace. So you actually have to kind of overdrive these cars a little bit. Now you overdrive them too much to actually go slower, but you got to get every bit of it.
Looking off of the United Rentals onboard of Ryan Preece as Noah Gregson and Eric Jones right there. Dave.
Martin Truex Jr. gives up a top 10 running position to take on at least 2 right side tires. That's what they did last time. They're going to do 4 this time because they do need that fuel cell full. That was a nice stop.
Nice stop by the 19, under 10 seconds. You see on the bottom left, 9.2. So now let's cycle the 19 versus the 24. The 24 is using these new tires, Jeff, to make lap time. It's not as obvious as other racetracks, but Jeff, remember, early the 5 came first and ended up cycling to the lead. We'll see if that works as we see the 19 leave pit road. He'll be behind the 24. So now the 2 cars that can make it on fuel, Byron leads the way, although currently a lap down, Parker.
Alex Bowman on pit road. He'll pit just outside the top 10 as he gets into this pit cycle as well. Last pit on lap 112, so it should be a fairly longer stop, closer to 10 seconds like we saw for the 19 there, and 4 tires just still a little free on the 48 car when he gets in that clean air.
I'm a little surprised more haven't countered the move of the 24 because the lap time and position on the racetrack, once he gets by the 9, he's going to be able to set sail, only gaining more time on the rest of these leaders. And right here, you're going to see the run. He gets on the corner exit. He's able to turn down the hill with those fresh Goodyears. But can he make the pass?
Will he complete the pass? This is to get his lap back. Again, Chase Elliott, race leader. William Byron trying to get back on the lead lap.
All the way to the bottom of the racetrack. He's going to get forward momentum. He's going to get alongside Chase Elliott. No, clears him.
So now a caution would be great for William Byron because he would basically stay on the racetrack. Everybody would pit, and he would get the lead because he's back on the lead lap.
I tell you, Steve, we talk a lot about tires this year around this series and last year as well. This is definitely an improvement in tire at Michigan.
Absolutely.
It has some fall off. It's not a ton of fall off, but enough fall off for tires to matter. We like that. We think that makes the racing a little bit better.
When are you going to call your driver to pit road, Steve, now that you've seen the success of the 24?
I'm a little surprised Chase Elliott and the 9 didn't kind of cover what the 24 did. I had the same opinion of Reddick. I thought both of those cars would come. Gibbs, he's in a tough spot because he needs about 10 laps more fuel when he does pit. We'll call that. You figure that's probably about 2 gallons, 2.5 gallons, so maybe a second and a half, 2 second longer pit stop.
Reddick able to get beside the 9. And now a little side drafting down the back stretch. Again, that's for the lead. Reddick clears him. We'll see if he grips up the racetrack, but Tyler Reddick now out in front of the field here at Michigan.
Ty Gibbs pitting.
Brad trying to come behind him. What a job. If Brad got the pit road speed, he had to make up 15 car lengths.
Parker.
What a move by Brad Keselowski. They're gaining on the 54 Ty Gibbs. They both last pitted around the same lap, so they've had to hit pit road at the same time after those caution laps. The 54 Ty Gibbs, he gets through his pit stall first to the left side. Just a touch tight. The team was cheering him on as he got to the 9 car there, but when the 24 William Byron came up, he lost a lot of ground. They had to hit pit road, and for the similar strategy for Keselowski, he's been just a little tight as well in traffic, waiting on the fuel. Both are away. We'll see how they cycle through here. It looks like Tyler Reddick's hitting pit road.
And Chase Elliott also is coming now. So those two give up the top spots. Parker.
And Chase Elliott there is battling for the lead throughout this run. He's just been a touch free, especially in that clean air. You saw him using all the racetrack off of turn 4. That's been a consistent theme for the 9 car today, but they've had speed as well within there. They will be 4 tires here, and we'll see what they match up on fuel as we go through this cycle, Marty.
It took Tyler Reddick the entire day, Parker, but he finally has his track position back. Just took the lead from Chase Elliott. Before that, showing the strength of the long run for the 45 car. And they also told him on the radio, we do not have to wait on fuel, but the 9 with a little bit quicker stop than the 45, Dave.
You can see Ryan Blaney pitted as well. This car was chattering the tires coming off of turn 4. They made an adjustment for that tight condition.
And this right here will be the race for the lead when it all cycles around. The 24 of William Byron using those fresh tires early, gaining track position. He'll be in front of the 9. Look at the 19 come. He's also already made his pit stop. He's trying to get the 9 as well. Will he be able to do it? Oh, not quite.
Great job by Chase Elliott to maximize his pace getting into 3 coming off pit road, Marty.
Denny Hamlin made his way just outside the top 10, has raced his way back up there. The 11 much better. Right side onlys for the 11 as he leaves pit road. So all those that pitted at 138, Steve, they're thinking about coming very soon. If you were one of those crew chiefs, would you consider right sides as well, only?
I think you have to if you're Kyle Busch. If you're the 8 leading this race and you have to win to make the playoffs, the only chance of winning are 2 tires, getting the lead, and hope it holds on. With 4 tires, you just are not going to keep the lead. You're going to cycle back to 5th, 6th, 7th. Now, maybe you'd be fortunate enough to make it happen on restarts, but we're going to see the 8 when the decision he makes. If I'm the crew chief of the 8, I think I have to take 2 tires and gamble.
Chase Elliott under attack now from the 19 of Martin Truex Jr. Also gets a little shove there from Martin Truex Jr. That puts him up the racetrack, and now the 2 Toyotas go side by side, with Reddick and Martin Truex Jr. falling back from Elliott.
And it's really easy to gamble from the TV booth, just for the record, when it comes to pit strategy.
When it doesn't work out, it doesn't hurt nearly as bad. Reddick able to drive in the corner and clear Truex here.
And remember, these guys are running 18th, 19th, and 20th, but everyone in front of them still has to come to pit road.
And I just think this is a race for the lead. I know the 8 might try that 2 tire and kind of leapfrog them, but I mean, tires do matter. We've seen the 24 pass the 9 on fresh tires. Now the 9 is trying to run the 24 back down.
The key would be if Busch can put tires on after these guys have run enough laps on their tires to start slowing down a little bit. That's what he has to hope for.
Marty.
Remember, Chris Buescher was in that accident a little bit earlier. Scott Graves said the left front part of the splitter is not great, so they've been dealing with that a little bit too free for Buescher. I asked Scott Graves, would you consider 2? He said, yes, I would consider it, but he's going to go with 4 here among those that pitted at 138. What's Kyle Busch going to do, Dave?
He was told, don't slide the tires, Marty. They're going to do 2 right side tires. So the veteran comes in, parks the 8 car right where he needs to, and they're going to put fuel in this race car in just the 2 right side tires. Interestingly, with 34 laps to go, 33 now, it was at this point in the run where Kyle radioed the team and said, okay, right here, like the balance was good. So that's a good place for them to be.
Now the 2 tire call has been made. Will it get him the necessary track position? Leaders off turn 4, 200 miles an hour. I don't see any way the 8 blends in front of him. He has, a quarter mile, but he has to get up to speed. I just think he's going to be overtaken on the backstretch. He's slipping and sliding on the apron, trying to get that power down, Jeff.
He knows they're coming. He's going to be looking in the mirror. I think he's got it. It's going to be a potential block into turn 3. But he's going to drive into turn 3 wide open in the throttle. He does not have to lift because he doesn't have the pace. It's going to equal out right here. It's going to start to equal out. Now the question is, are 2 tires good enough to keep this lead?
He's in front of that 24, but it's closing the gap.
How about the 24 driving off the front of the 9 as soon as he saw the toe?
Block him, just for the win.
Oh, there you have it.
Block him. There you go. Look, what a great job. He timed it perfectly. He waited as long as he could so that he could have fresh tires a little bit later in the race. And he waited. If he had waited one more lap, he would not be in this lead.
So these are not the leaders of the race. Suarez, Hocevar, Stenhouse, Harrison, Burton yet to pit. But this is the race win, assuming we don't have a yellow. Kyle Busch trying to go 20 years in a row, Rick.
19 already, and this is year 20 if he can get a win. Again, Kyle Busch out front. The 24 of William Byron. And remember, he's got that bad wrist. His left wrist at Indy, when he got in the accident, he was a sprained wrist because of the steering wheel snapping. He's got a brace on it this week. And now out in front, looking for one more win. Another win, that would be 64 wins for Kyle Busch if he can finish this one out.
I just can't tell you how impressed I am with the decision of when to pit him. And then everybody executing, right? You have to get on pit road right. You have to have the great pit stop. You have to leave pit road with the right amount of speed. They maximize their entire opportunity here to get it.
He has a mirror full of William Byron, though, as the 24 has closed the gap. And remember, Suarez, Hocevar, Stenhouse Jr., Burton, they're all still in front of him. There are 11 cars in front of this group, but again, they all have to pit. You're watching the NASCAR Cup Series from Michigan, presented by Golden Corral. And now another run by the 45 of Tyler Reddick. Kyle Busch trying to hold him off. This isn't for the lead, but it could be for the win. The cars in front of Kyle Busch all have to come to pit road still.
Yeah, Hocevar leads. The 99 of Suarez has pitted. Stenhouse, Burton, Priest, Jones, to your point, Rick, must pit. They're hoping for a yellow. Remember, they're leading the race at yellow. They'll be able to pit and not lose that lap, improve their position.
So Tyler Reddick's been running a little bit higher than Kyle Busch. This time he goes to the bottom. Can he clear him right here? I don't think he's going to clear him. Kyle Busch is going to get right to his right side. No, he does clear him. No, he doesn't.
Nope, not yet.
All right, so Kyle Busch, he's got to carry enough speed here to keep Reddick from sliding him. Reddick's going to drive in the corner deep, go up the racetrack. Kyle Busch going to try to turn underneath him. He just does not have enough car to do it.
Not enough car, not enough tire. Remember that 8 is on 2 tires. That was the only call to even be in this position. I loved the call, but it's not going to work out. Now the question is, does anyone else on 4 tires have enough car to run Reddick down?
Here comes the 24 of William Byron. He gets to the inside of that 8. Will he also clear him? He does.
And that's big, right? He didn't waste another straightaway or another set of corners. The problem for Reddick with this aero setup is even though he's a little better than the 24 uses the draft to stay close. You can't really shake him. He's going to be a pest back there for the next 24 laps.
Well, and Reddick also, think about the number of times Tyler Reddick has had a chance to win races this year, and it hasn't worked out. He's expressed his frustration, been very vocal about it. Still a lot of racing left to go here.
Sorry about that, Jeff. I was just going to say on the pylon, you see the cars come to pit road. Hocevar, Priest, that leaves the lead now to Stenhouse Jr., Harrison, Burton, Jones, Barry, Hemrick, Ware, McDowell, the top 7.
And again, and we'll go to Parker.
As you see Ty Gibbs going underneath Chase Elliott here. I think this has been a very impressive day for this 54 team. They came to this race plus 18 above the cut line. And in both instances, in both stage 1 and stage 2, they elected to do the strategy that put them in a position to get stage points. And then it fell in their hands when we had that crash in the start of stage 3, that some of the competitors they had in the cut line were involved in those incidents. And now they find themselves fighting for a top 5 most likely here late in this race. I think this was a well-executed race by Chris Gale and well-executed by that driver Ty Gibbs in there as they try to fight to be in these playoffs this year.
And again, a good points day for Martin Truex Jr. and Gibbs. Without a new winner, there would be 2 drivers that would be guaranteed on points. Take a look at this, though. Ross Chastain right through the middle. Goes by Bubba Wallace. AJ Allmendinger on the bottom. It's been great racing here at Michigan.
It's been really good. Started yesterday, great racing until it rained, and it picked right up today.
Harrison Burton still has to come to pit road. He was leading here at Michigan.
And for those drivers, I assume they're going to come in, just take right sides and just enough fuel to get to the finish of the race. I can make an argument maybe 4 tires where you might come out in traffic. It really depends on where you think you're going to blend back on the racetrack, but that's a nice sight for Harrison. No one out in front, a little bit of clean air.
With Harrison, his future still undecided. We know that he won't be back with the 21 team next year, so he'll be looking for a ride.
Reddick is just running the best lap times of anyone on the racetrack.
And remember, Tyler Reddick, he is in a tight battle to win this regular season championship. Larson's one of those guys that's in it. Also, Larson is out. He wrecked earlier.
Yeah, with this finish, this is going to put Tyler Reddick up front as far as that regular season championship. As we see this getting even tighter here as Martin Truex Jr. went to the inside, but the 9 of Chase Elliott's going to get by him.
Thought Truex was going to clear the 54. I think the 19 has a really good race car. He just can't quite get by these guys. Reddick up front, though, has really stretched it out. I mean, Reddick is now about a second in front of Byron.
And now there's only 3 cars in front of Reddick. Harrison Burton, Josh Berry, and Michael McDowell. They still have to come to pit road. Parker.
Well, guys, as we see Chase Elliott continue to fall back here and start to struggle, this has been one of the concerns for this race team, as they are also in the battle for that regular season championship, that really tight battle between them, Larson, and Tyler Reddick and Denny Hamlin. Right now, as he tries to fend off Keselowski, they just told me earlier yesterday that really the long run pace of their race cars has been concerning for them. It's something they've had to work on. And right now, as we get into the later stages of this run, you're starting to see that 9 falter. He was running some of the highest lanes that we've seen. The only other driver that high that I've seen was Tyler Reddick. It's just not working for Chase Elliott, not able to extract the speed out of that race car as we get later in this run right now.
It's stage points definitely are going to come into play as far as regular season standings and championship. Chase Elliott in this race got 9 stage points, and that is why right now he has the advantage over Tyler Reddick in the regular season fight.
Harrison Burton leading. You see the speed go down for the driver of the 21. He'll come to pit road, handing the lead over to Josh Berry.
And Berry will be the only one still out on the racetrack that has not come to pit road yet in front of Tyler Reddick.
Yeah, the Sunoco camera on board the 21. Appreciate those shots all day long.
Appreciate the 21 team letting us join their team. Had a good ride with Harrison. As Tyler Reddick, he's 8.6 seconds behind Josh Berry, but ultimately Josh Berry came to pit road on lap 139. He won't have enough fuel to get all the way to the end.
No, but if a caution came out right now, Josh Berry would pit, and I don't expect Reddick to pit, but half the field would, because they think tires matter. So that would give Josh Berry instantly better track position, maybe 15th or 16th, really changing the course of their day. That's what Rodney Childers is thinking, just continuing to crew chief, try to find the best finish for your race car.
The gap now between Reddick and William Byron is about 2 seconds between those two. And right now they're running second and third, but ultimately when Berry leaves the racetrack for his pit stop, they'll be running 1-2.
We talked a lot about, you know, aerodynamics and pit strategy and fuel and all of that, but Reddick just went up and has taken control of this race, Marty. When it mattered, he drove by all the contenders and now controls.
And remember, the restart of the race today, you see the bottom of the battle of your screen between Chase Elliott and Brad Keselowski. He lost all that track position. This long run speed has been so key for the 45 team today. And Jeff, you mentioned the frustration lately. Think about all the close calls and almost wins for Tyler Reddick. Second at Nashville, second at Chicago, second at Indy. He thought he was second at Richmond until everything got changed with that late wreck. He finished third, though, last week at Richmond, and this could be win number 2 of the season for Tyler Reddick. At win number 1, the boss, Michael Jordan, was in the house, but Michael was here yesterday and went home because it rained out. Maybe MJ should have stayed, because it looks like his driver in 14 laps might collect another win.
Maybe it just counts when he's there for the start. Because he was there for the start yesterday.
It's like driver points. You got to start the race.
You just got to start the race.
Well, this would be huge. I mean, we talked about the battle for the regular season championship. Why does that matter? It's points going into the playoffs. If you win that thing, it is a big advantage.
Yeah,
just trying to build as many points as you can going into them. 15
playoff points for winning the regular season. That is equivalent to 3 race wins. So you fill your bucket up with those playoff points, and those carry through each stage of the playoff, the round of the playoff. And Josh Berry's going to be on pit road. That means that Tyler Reddick now race leader, and he has 12 laps to go from Michigan.
Rick, if we learned anything at Richmond, it's not over until someone sees the checkered flag. Austin Dillon, much has been made about that overtime finish, but remember, he had the race basically in hand with a couple to go. A monster lead, a late yellow changed everything. You know, with 12 to go, it could easily happen here at Michigan as well.
The gap was about the same, 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Richmond and what we're seeing right here at Michigan. Now we see Martin Truex Jr. as he clears the 8s of Kyle Busch. Again, Busch won stage 2. He's running 5th. Is this enough of a positive for Kyle Busch to come away from this race and, I guess, feel like things are going in the right direction for RCR?
Well, I mean, it's enough of a positive to feel better, but it's not enough of a positive to change the course of their season so far. But anytime you run well, we make a lot of the playoffs, and I know Kyle Busch wants to win, but it's got to feel good to compete, to be up here in the mix.
I think that's the key. You know, sitting here racing against Martin Truex Jr., you know, used to be his teammate. Feels like he's as good of a driver, you know, as Martin, and he's just doesn't feel like he's had the car lately, right? And now sitting here, being able to keep up with him with a tire deficit, that is no question it's positive.
Under 10 laps remaining. It's Reddick out in front. He's got a 2-second advantage over William Byron. Ty Gibbs running in that 3rd position. Martin Truex Jr. is 4th. Kyle Busch 5th. Keselowski, the Michigan-born driver, running 6th. Chase Elliott, Blaney, Hamlin, and Bowman are the top 10. And you see the points. Buescher involved in the incident at the start of stage 3. And he's still 9 points above the cut line now. Bubba Wallace 9 behind him.
Yeah, so Tyler Reddick, I think we have to. This race isn't over, as you both said, but think about 2311 racing. They're 4 years old. And look who they're competing against. Hendrick Motorsports, Joe Gibbs Racing, Richard Childress Racing, RFK. I mean, Penske. They are going after the guys that you think are going to win the championships, the guys that some of them have dominated this series. And this is a very, very young team. We talk about Michael Jordan and his presence at the racetrack, but there cannot be enough credit given to Denny Hamlin and what he's done, leading, putting this team together, putting the right people, the right driver. When he heard Tyler Reddick might become available, he was like, that's the next guy. Yeah. That's the next superstar. I'm going to get him. And he's done what he's needed to, Steve, to build this team.
And the combination has worked. Tyler Reddick has elevated Bubba Wallace, and Bubba Wallace, Tyler Reddick. Today it doesn't look that way, only because Wallace had that accident. He really just got into somebody else's accident. He's damaged, but that 23 was as good as the 45, and I expected him to be right here in the top 5 if he could have just avoided that issue and not have the damage.
Tyler Reddick out in front here. Yesterday when we talked with Denny Hamlin, he said that 2311 right now is the best two-car team in all of NASCAR. They are doing things that people wouldn't expect. You guys mentioned how young these teams are. As far as 2311, such great success already, just 4 years in.
And don't discount Toyota.
Yeah.
Toyota's come in and just done a great job at Joe Gibbs Racing, a great partner to this team as well. Whoa, we got a problem.
The 19 slow off turn 4. I can't tell if it's a tire.
Caution has come out. There'll be a restart.
He got up in the wall. He seems to be back up to speed.
Under 6 laps to go, and a caution comes out. Tough position for Tyler Reddick, right, Steve? What do you do now?
It's going to be tough for all these guys. You see the kind of the frustration, the disappointment, the hand up in the air. Not sure.
So Martin Truex Jr., after having such an amazing car all weekend,
that just looks like to me he got loose. We've seen that a lot today. He chased it up the racetrack and ran out of racetrack. Big hit to the right rear. Not sure that car is not damaged.
Yeah, I think the right rear toe link has got to have damage, the right rear tail.
Tyler Reddick has to be scratching his head going, what is going on this season? This is the 5th race already this year where Reddick was leading when a caution came out in the final stage, and he failed to win 4 of those.
Yeah, so now some very difficult decisions. Let's listen to what they had to say.
This is a joke? Come on. It's bull. Touch the wall. There's some paint on the racetrack. Good grief.
Frustrated with the decision for the yellow. I mean, the 19's contact was pretty severe, but I can see Reddick's point as far as no tires down, no debris on the racetrack. There'll definitely be some question mark on why or if it needed to be a yellow.
Dave?
Nobody in the top 10 pitted longer ago than William Byron, who runs in second. About 5 laps ago, Rudy Fugle, the crew chief, called to his driver and said, I need you to save me a little bit of fuel. They can get to the end, and then Rudy told him that if you were doing the right thing. If this yellow is quick, then we'll be okay.
Well, the decision is, do you pit? Do tires matter? The leaders stay out. Someone's going to make the decision. The 19 has damage, but look at all of the leaders deciding to stay on the racetrack. They feel that the heat cycle will add the grip.
Yeah, so not very many cars inside of the top 15 came to pit road. Martin Truex Jr., McDowell, and Buescher were the only 3 that were inside the top 15 that came to pit road. Marty.
Yeah, I think Scott Graves thought more would come once Chris Buescher and others came down pit road, but it's a lonely pit road with just a handful of cars here. And once Graves saw that, he said just right side tires only. And I only think they added a little bit of fuel, but not much. But yeah, interesting call, Steve, here by Scott Graves to bring Chris Buescher down pit road. He will restart deep in the field with only a handful of laps left.
Just such a tough call. I mean, the right answer can't really be made until you see what everybody else does. Now, for the leaders, I think you have to stay on the racetrack. You can't give up that track position.
There are 25 cars on the lead lap, and I believe Haley will get the free pass. He was running 26th, one lap down. So now, if you're Tyler Reddick, what lane do you choose, Jeff?
Oh, you got to go to the top. I mean, you got to pick the top in Michigan. I don't think there's any choice but to go pick the top. Hope the guy behind you will give you a good push down the front straightaway, and it's about leaving the restart zone. You just have to leave the restart zone with good forward momentum.
Let's take another look at this accident with the 19 really from outside the car and see what it looked like. We were on board with the 19. Oh, he just gets loose up into the fence. That's a heavy hit.
Yeah, it hit the... Talk about, we've seen multiple drivers lose control of their cars today, and you know, Truex is a top running car, Larson a top running car, right? These cars, Hamlin racing for the lead. These cars are not just stuck to the racetrack. They're very difficult to drive, and you can see it when they overstep their bounds just a little bit. Around they go.
And you see the word overtime up there in the upper left, and those that felt like they got it completely full of fuel might be a little bit nervous, but these caution laps I think are going to help them a bit.
Well, yeah, except for once you get past the extended distance, they're just more laps, right, than what you figured. But I think you're right, Rick. I think everybody's going to feel pretty good about it. The real question is, you talk about one line, you restart. Unfortunately, it has more to do, I think, with the people behind you than what you're going to do. If you just don't get that push, man, you got trouble.
Well, as we've been keeping an eye on the cut line, think about what's coming up next with Daytona, and you'll learn all about it if you join Dale Jarrett this Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern on NBC Sports on Sirius XM. That's NASCAR Radio Channel 90. DJ, who has had such great success at Daytona, will be there to talk about not only the Michigan race here, but also the upcoming Daytona race.
One thing to consider also, guys, on this restart is, remember, some guys stayed out earlier on a restart and had about 25, 35 laps on tires. It did not work.
You're
now,
right.
The new tires are coming right behind them. That's not the case in this situation. However, they still didn't drive well. So who is going to have enough grip to pull this off? I think that they all made the right call, because the first guy on tires, I mean, he's all the way back in 15th. And that's on 2 tires. So I think they had to stay. But if you drive this car on this restart the same way you did when you had new tires on it, it's going to be a mistake. You're going to have overdriven the car. You're not going to be able to stay in lane.
And remember, at the beginning of this race, Kyle Larson took the lead by 2 cars being side by side down the backstretch, and he was able to get by from 3rd. Bubba Wallace did it as well. So it's more than just the front 2 cars, Jeff, right? I think 2nd, 3rd, 4th on back is going to have some runs.
Now, back in the field, it's going to be chaos, because McDowell in 15th, he is the first car on tires, and he and that whole group, they're going to be going anywhere they can go, 3 wide, 4 wide, in the middle. They're going to be trying to make something happen. So this overtime 3 to go thing, yeah, that might not be the last time we see that, because it wouldn't surprise me to see another caution.
The first one with 4 tires is Suarez. He's 18th as far as the restart, so we'll keep an eye on the 99. We saw what he did with the option tires in Richmond when he took advantage of that. This might be a little different. He's got a lot of cars in front of him here at Michigan.
Yeah, the guy I got my eye on is Ty Gibbs. He's starting right behind Tyler Reddick. Great success in the Xfinity Series. Has had a really good early start to a career, but no wins yet. And he is hungry. Now, he also is racing for a chance to get in the playoffs, and he is not guaranteed by any means, only 39 points to the good. How aggressive will Ty Gibbs be?
We're about to find out. Again, Tyler Reddick up top, William Byron on the inside. It is overtime, presented by Credit One Bank. Door to door as they're going to enter turn one. Now a surge out of the 24, a great push from Keselowski. Keselowski goes to the bottom of the racetrack. Here comes Reddick on the outside once again. Reddick with momentum going down the backstretch, and look at him fan out behind him.
Whoa!
And around goes the one. Ross Chastain spins into the inside wall. Caution comes out.
Oh, I don't think he ever hit
No, he never did hit the inside wall. He's still on the gas.
Trying to make sure he doesn't get stuck in that wet grass.
Did you hit anything?
It did not look like he hit the inside wall.
That wreck started about 300 yards before it ultimately happened. I mean, they were tank slapping down the back straightaway. Something happened, and he's wanting to push.
Yeah.
He's saying, hey, push me, push me. He's in trouble here. He cannot get the car rolling. Watch Alex Bowman. This is where it all starts. Alex Bowman loses control of his car. That stacks everybody up. And now look at all this chaos.
Chastain was 11th when he spun around and into the grass. Now he was trying to go there.
We heard him in the throttle, right, Steve? And you nailed it. You said he was trying to keep from getting stuck, and it got stuck anyway. And look at this. He is just behind on the steering, could never get caught back up.
And that car tried to lift and actually set back down, which is what we'd love to see with cars spinning. Now we have to see how the field is going to line up. Remember, they'll basically go to the last loop line that all the cars...
When the caution came out. And I'm looking at this, and the 24 may have been in front.
Well, it's electronic. It's not cameras at this point because it's not the finish of the race. So 24. We'll see. All right, so the 24 is now the leader of the race, so which meant he led at the last loop they crossed while they were still under green.
And while that was all going on, guys, Chastain did get lapped. He got his car rolling, but the field went by him. He is a lap down.
And it looks like the left front is down for Chastain, and Chastain now below the cut line, Marty.
He was desperately asking for a push inside the car, over the radio as well. Important to note, Rick, that Ross Chastain was plus 12 when he went for his spin. As you can see, left-hand side of your screen now below the cut line. It was just going to get tighter and tighter, obviously, as we head to Daytona next week.
Only 2 races remain in the regular season with Daytona and Darlington. Those are 2 opportunities to either gain as many points as possible or win and you advance. And again, we still have to remind you that the appeal is happening for the 3 team on Wednesday. So that will determine if that stands as far as NASCAR's ruling that he is not eligible.
Well, Daytona should be so calm. Nothing ever happens in the last 10 laps at Daytona. What, I mean, whew.
And a restart is going to happen here. Jeff, you called it. You said we probably haven't seen the last of 3 to go in overtime. We'll see it again. Let's listen into William Byron's radio communications.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be really close. Depends on how quick they get this cleaned up, William. I don't. Depends how dangerous we want to be. Zipper. Yep. Yeah, I'm with you. Either way.
Talking about fuel, that was Rudy Fugle saying, look, it's going to be really close. So we'll have to see what they do. Do they decide to come down pit road? Do they decide to stay out? You see Rudy on top of the pit box. He's looking up pit road like he's calling the 24 in. So hard to give up the lead. I think you just have to run out of gas at this point in the season.
Well, he's locked into playoffs, right?
Yes.
And, you know, when you're locked in, Steve, you can be a little more of a risk taker.
48 and the 3 are on pit road. 48, we saw have some pretty good contact with the outside wall.
Well, the problem is it's more than just a risk for the win. You know, the other thing is we're 205 miles an hour. So as a crew chief, you do feel this obligation to your driver that if you think there's no way you're going to make it, you know, is it fair to your driver to have him restart on the front of this field on the next time around, coming at 200 miles an hour. Now, William Byron, I'm sure, will sign up for it. That's what he came here to do, but I will tell you that weighs on you. It's more than just can you make it. It's where's your poor driver going to run out of gas.
Brad Keselowski at Indy.
Right.
Remember that? He stayed out forever.
Yeah.
Marty.
While William Byron is worried about fuel, Tyler Reddick is worried about where he should choose. Listen in.
There's no way to drive around them from anywhere else. I don't want to lose 10 spots. Getting tight on the bottom though. Yeah, 24 may also run out of gas at some point, so we don't need to be behind them. We need to be in front of them.
So that was the conversation of whether, Jeff, to choose the top behind the 24 or the bottom. What would you choose if you were Tyler Reddick?
I have to choose wherever the 24 doesn't. I'm going to go. He's low on fuel. Remember, the 24 picked the bottom right there and got by Tyler Reddick. So I don't think that the bottom's horrible. I think the top was the right pick, and that was where I was encouraging him to go. But the bottom worked. So I just think you got to take the front row and then just see what happens.
So now it will be William Byron's choice as far as he'll be first to choose. But you look at the fuel, we're just kind of assuming it's not. We know it's 9 laps difference.
Well, so let's just remind everyone as they come to the choose. We saw this in Indianapolis. You know, if William Byron does have to pit, coming back to the green, the line just moves up, and Reddick would become the control car. Currently, Byron front. Now it's going to be hard to pit from the top. Byron is the control car at the moment, and he's got. Whether it's a speedway or a restart, Brad K is Mr. Pusher in my mind. He's going to get a shove down into turn 1.
Steve, do you worry about the pickups again? You had mentioned it before. They're on the left and right sides.
So this car is not as bad. The bottom of the Cup Series actually has a little bit of a V to it. So it's not just a big flat plane like the Xfinity cars were here on Saturday a couple days ago. This one, it does a much better job of filling up. So it's less of a concern with it. I mean, it's still a concern, but not as bad as the old style.
How about Brad Keselowski? You know, whenever he comes here, a little extra step, right? He's a Michigan-born driver. It's crazy. There's never been a Michigan-born driver win here. Parker.
Jeff, you know, we talk about home tracks for drivers and how much it would mean to win at these places. Brad has been quoted multiple times in saying that winning here would be as big as winning the Daytona 500. Overtime restart here to try and go get it.
Rochester Hills, just down the road.
Yeah, and Jack Roush, owner of this race car, his facility isn't far down the road either. They always bring a lot of employees out here to this race.
And again, Brad, one of those drivers who's locked into the playoffs with his win at Darlington earlier this year. But a win at home.
Again, it's going to be a wild race in the front, but it's going to be even more wild in the middle of this pack.
We're about to find out as we try overtime for a second time. Byron on the outside, Reddick on the inside. And a big push on that outside line. And now Gibbs, a big shove as the 6 checked up. That pulled a lot of them back. Reddick out in front. Gibbs trying to clear for second. He's not going to be able to get by Byron as they go down the backstretch.
I don't know how he didn't wreck right there when the 6 checked up.
Kyle Busch trying to move up to 4th. Now, William Byron has closed into the back bumper of that 45 as they come up on 1 lap to go in Michigan. One more time around. Reddick out front. Byron, he's going to look to the outside. 3 car lengths separate the top 2 as they go through 2. Slow on the racetrack, the 9 and the 12. They're backing up. Up front, 1 more set of turns. Reddick with a 3 car length advantage now. Pulling away as he comes out of 4. Tyler Reddick is going to win again. This time it's in Michigan.
Hell yeah, Tyler. You are the man. How about that for improving some Michigan stats?
And that team is going to start celebrating. And I'm sure this is going to be a very emotional win for Tyler Reddick, as his mentor, Scott Bloomquist, lost his life in an airplane accident earlier this week. Tyler Reddick, who had his family's dirt late models built in a shop owned by Scott Bloomquist. Now Tyler Reddick has shaken off those second place finishes that he's been so disappointed with over the last few weeks, and he gets back to victory lane. The fans here at Michigan saw another great race. And we're glad that they stuck around here on a Monday to enjoy it.
Remember how this Monday started for Tyler Reddick. He restarted the day 6th and fell back to 20th on the first restart of the day. But at the end of the day, delivers Toyota their first Michigan win in 9 years in front of some great fans who hung around on a Monday afternoon. So Tyler, you didn't want the bottom on that final restart. How did you make it work though?
Just great teammate, fantastic push by Ty Gibbs. So that's what it's all about. The Toyota Racing family tries to take care of each other.
Yeah, let's talk about the role this team is on. You and I talked about it yesterday. Have you ever been, despite the disappointments with the second place finishes, on a roll like this in your career?
It's been a minute. It's been really cool, but I can't help but sit here in victory lane and think of Scott Bloomquist, man. Huge mentor to me, an incredible role model and legend of dirt racing and motorsports. So the last couple of days have been tough, and this really helps it. And so this win, I think, should go for him and his family, his friends, and all that meant a lot to him.
One of the more emotional weeks for you, Tyler, then, in that regard?
Yeah, it's tough. It's always tough when someone you care about passes away. But my thoughts are with him and his family.
By the way, the boss man, Michael Jordan, was here earlier this year for your win at Talladega. He laughed last night. You couldn't convince him to stay?
Maybe I should have. We had a bad restart going into the night, so I didn't know how it was going to shake out for us in our McDonald's Camry, but we did a really, really good job today and rebounded from that. I think we were one of the last cars in lead lap, start stage 3, so great effort for us.
All right, Tyler Reddick collects a checkered flag here at Michigan. There's Bo coming in for the celebration with Dad. Tyler Reddick, 23-11 win here at MIS.
Tyler Reddick and Bo, they grab the checkered flag. They'll find a fan that they will gift that checkered flag to. Tyler Reddick grabs win number 2 on the season, and it comes here at Michigan. The momentum that he is building as we get close to the playoffs, he is definitely going to be one to watch as the playoffs will kick off 2 races from now. But he will celebrate this one, and we will talk to more of the drivers from here at Michigan. Big win for Tyler Reddick.